talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 10:01, I'm Nick Ellaby, and a very good morning to Team Europe.
Europe's on fire. USA is terrifying. Europe's on fire. USA is terrifying. Europe's on fire.
That was the bus this morning as the boys brought the Ryder Cup home. Luke Donald's Team Europe weathered a massive American fight back to win 15-13, the first away victory since 2012. Justin Rose told talkSPORT he had to go places he's never been before.
It's tested my resolve. I feel like I've never played in an environment like this before. So to feel like I'm learning as a player at 45 is incredible, and I think that I need to protect that as long as I can.
American fan abuse marred the tournament at Bethpage Black. Rory McIlroy says New York police should have let their dogs off the leash after beer was thrown over his wife Erica.
Golf should be held to a higher standard than what was seen out there this week.
There's loads more reaction on talkSPORT's Golf YouTube. In the Premier League, Arsenal are just 2 points behind Liverpool after Gabriel's late winner over Newcastle. But we're talking about refereeing. Gabriel's elbow on Voltemada went unpunished, and Gyökeres had a penalty overturned by VAR. Here's Arteta.
Unless it's a clear and obvious error, the VAR just should not intervene. And I looked at that, and I can never see something clear and obvious. For me, it's a penalty.
And we understand Enzo Maresca's got the backing of Chelsea's board following defeats to Bayern, Man United and Brighton. More on that at talksport.com. Tonight, Nuno's first game in charge of West Ham at Everton is live and exclusive on talkSPORT from 7 p.m.
talkSPORT News.
The Chancellor has backed the Prime Minister's claim Nigel Farage's migrant policy is racist, but says Reform supporters are not. And Harrods admits 500,000 customers were affected by a data hack last week. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, your go-to destination for quality tyres from great brands like Continental. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Fine day for most of us, plenty of sunshine, cloudy in the northwest though, and in western Scotland where there's rain and brisk winds.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin O'Neill, and we are live on talkSPORT. So Team Europe stave off an American fight back to win the Ryder Cup. Is there a greater sporting satisfaction than handing it to the Americans in their own backyard? Meantime, Graham Potter sacked and replaced by Nuno. Is it a unifying appointment from the West Ham board? Also today, is there such a thing as a swing weekend? This early in the title race, are Chelsea being judged to a lower standard than their rivals? Are Manchester United incapable of producing momentum? And how do you separate the tyre kickers from the real thing? And what do sporting bans actually achieve? All that and more in the next 3 hours. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin O'Neill, and we're live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Simon Jordan, the man to your left, is the much travelled and much sought after in these professional circles, Mr. Martin O'Neill. Good morning, Martin.
Well, much travelled and don't think much sought after.
I've been asking for you for the last few weeks.
Oh, thank you very much.
Martin, I can vouch for that.
Is
he
that
has
right?
been.
Indeed.
Oh, brilliant.
I've overheard a few conversations.
Yeah, but it's you or Keon.
Yeah.
Right, I understand.
You've got the
Right,
You know what
qualification.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now listen to this, Simon. This is what I mean. You were on the Late Show in Dublin the other night, were you? That's the show,
Gabriel.
isn't it? That everybody wants to go on in Ireland.
Yeah, Patrick Keelty
Is it
has
Patrick
been on
Keelty
it.
now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Patrick's been
Used to be Gay
doing
Burns,
it,
isn't it?
It was, yeah, and then it was Ryan as well too, who works in it. And
what were you doing on there?
I was. That's a very good question. Asked on, and it was the promotion of a book that I'm doing at this minute, or have done.
Selling something.
Called,
well done.
Well, of course, that's everybody has to go on a program.
Yeah.
But I actually wrote the book to get on that program. That was the point, I think, as much as anything else.
What's the book on?
It's called The Changing Game, and it's to do with 50 years in the game. It's the changes that have taken place, either what the things that you think that you might rail against, or the things that you think have improved the game.
Brilliant.
And it's
Brilliant.
and it's
Sounds good, man.
It's out now. It's interspersed with a couple of little stories, and I genuinely will bring them to you the next time.
I hope so. I hope so.
Now that I know that you've asked for me in this,
I read your last book, didn't I?
Right, you did.
I did,
and I read yours.
Good.
And where are you with yours at the moment? Your next book?
Coming together, and I would actually be interested because a lot of the things that he might be writing about, a lot of things I'm writing about, and I'll be able to pick his brains.
Good.
I.e., plagiarise.
Nothing wrong with a bit of plagiarism. I walked by Waterloo Station the other day, went into the bookstore and bought Boris Becker's book for 20 quid. Got home to find that he'd signed it.
So how much would it cost if you hadn't had a signed one?
Well, there you go. So I'm going to get in about Boris Becker's book this week. He was in here last week on The Breakfast Show.
Sure.
Couldn't quite work that out.
Hopefully,
should have been on with us.
Hopefully, it'd be better than Andre Agassi's book. Have you read Andre Agassi's book?
No, I haven't.
People rave about it. It's a massive whine.
Yeah,
about how hard done by I am throughout my entirety of my life.
Oh, really? Was it? Right,
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, we don't have that, do we?
We do not.
Anyway, so much for the Monday Morning Book Club. Let's move on. And it was something else, I must admit. I watched almost every bit of it.
So did I.
Since last Friday, did you, Simon?
I've become a convert.
The Ryder Cup, my God, it was incredible. And Europe retained the Ryder Cup last night in spite of an almighty collapse that almost allowed the US to pull off what would have been an extraordinary comeback. Only 2.5 points from a possible 12 were needed to retain the trophy. And then came a near disastrous collapse in the singles, but Europe claimed a 15-13 win. I mean, Simon, I cannot remember being on the edge of my seat watching a sporting event for such a lengthy period of time and thinking, I still don't know how this is going to work out.
Oh, well, listen, I don't think it was a collapse. I think the Americans massively upped their game. And if you look at the reality of the foursomes that seem to have not worked well for them, when they got into playing individually, they were much better. I think they played, as much as Europe played brilliant in the first 2 days and the first 3 sessions, the Americans played really well in the last session. And they managed, it's like being, can you imagine being 6-0, 6-0 and 5-0 up, and someone comes back to bring it back to 5-0 and still loses 7-5. The Americans still lost. It doesn't matter how much they huffed and puffed and how close they got to the line. Yeah. They lost.
They will hate that this morning, won't they? I mean, you've lived there. Is there a greater sporting satisfaction than handing it to the Americans in their own backyard?
Certain Americans, yeah, like Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, I would like to hand it to him forcefully. I mean, I don't think I've ever watched a golfer and been so irritated with DeChambeau, not just because of the situation with Justin Rose the previous day, but also the attitude when he was on the march. Okay, he was hitting the skin out of everything, but the attitude.
See what you really mean. Martin, did you take it in?
Yes, I watched the last bit of it. Yeah, it was terrific. Terrific stuff, you know. And it's interesting, you know, when Shane Lowry actually finally sinks that putt for them to, that was them to retain the trophy at that particular stage. He said in an interview afterwards, he has won the Open, and yet he thought that the Ryder Cup meant more to him.
Yeah.
That is extraordinary. It has become an incredible event, really. And when you think of way back quite some years ago when Rory McIlroy actually said, no, he said golf's an individual game. He said, I've got no real time for the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
How his attitude has changed as well too. Not just his attitude.
It was nice for Shane Lowry though, wasn't it? Because Shane Lowry always seems to travel to some extent in Rory McIlroy's slipstream. Even when they're playing the Masters and they're asking Shane Lowry about Rory McIlroy, and he's going, I'm still playing.
Yeah.
You know, what are you asking me for?
Yeah. So are you telling us this morning you actually felt patriotic about you?
No, I didn't feel patriotic. I felt committed to the cause.
Oh,
there's a difference.
To the cause.
The common denominator of beating the Yanks.
I'm sorry I didn't hear this before, but Jim said to me just before we got on air, he said that you weren't totally in love with the Ryder Cup because they included Scotsmen and Irishmen in it.
No, I didn't bring Irish into it. I said Scots.
Oh, did you?
Happy with the Irish.
Oh, fine. You're happy.
But what I said was, I'm not I don't feel myself as a European.
All right.
I don't consider. I don't walk around saying, "Hey, I'm a European. I better be patriotic to the blue and yellow stars."
Yeah, I get that.
What about Luke Donald, though? When you look at it, 4 Ryder Cup wins out of 4 as a player, and he becomes just the second European captain after Tony Jacklin to lead his team to win both home and away matches. Luke Donald. This was Luke.
But this means a lot, obviously, to me and the team. We came here knowing that the task was going to be very difficult. Couldn't be more proud of these guys, what they've gone through, how they come together, how they're playing for history, how they're playing for the people who came before them, and now they'll be talked for generations to come now as someone that will go down in history, and couldn't be more proud.
There's a bit of dignity, Simon, isn't there?
Sure, but it's often easy to be dignified in victory, isn't it? It's equally as important to be dignified in loss. I mean, the Americans bottled it. No two ways about it. They bottled it, and I think all their hysteria and all of the aggressive sledging or fan behaviour, and potentially backfired on them. Because
they damn near caught the Europeans, though, Simon. They damn near caught them.
They didn't, though, did they?
No, they
so
didn't.
Damn near doesn't make any difference.
No, true.
In the margins of time, we won't remember the fact that they had a very good last day. They lost 3 of the 4 sessions. That's unheard of for an away team to go and compete in that way and to do what the European team did to them.
Historically
in their
speaking,
face.
I don't think they're that brilliant in the foursomes, are they? America, so
no.
I might be wrong about that there, but certainly 2 years ago they were very poor.
But I think the story of it, Martin, was we won't look back in the first 2 days, Simon, and think of such dominance when the 4s were out, when it was 2 against 2. But we'll look back on this as Europe just making it 15-13.
But that's wrong. That's not right to do that.
That's the story of it.
Yeah, but that's the way the media want to represent it, or the way that the sensationalism side of things.
That's the case. It is, because I agree with Jim. Absolutely, because it was 15-13. People think that was close, and for about 25 minutes. It was.
But that's
incredibly close.
I don't know what you thought when I was reading all the press.
If Shane Lowry doesn't make that putt,
they're in trouble.
They are in trouble.
They did, and if Justin Rose hadn't been unlucky on the last hole, and the fellow that he was playing against hadn't holed out and had lost 3 holes in a row, if Tommy Fleetwood hadn't played as brilliant as he did and got done on the last hole, these things happen.
I don't know how you can frame it that the Americans bottled it.
No.
Far from
for the first 3. No. What
if they'd lost the first 3 singles matches and we'd won it, that's a bottle job.
No, Jim. The event was predetermined after the first 2 days. The Americans had to, the embarrassment. I read all the British press on Sunday morning and I thought, we're going a bit too hard with this about record scores. And also Ollie Holt, who I like very much, and a few of the other journalists went hell for leather about the disgraceful conduct of the American supporters, compared the foursomes to the team that picked Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods in 2004, which was a toxic partnership that never worked and created a bad result then. And so we had written their obituary. So you knew that in their backyard they were going to come out and fight. That's the least they could do after all their mouth and trousers.
It's the least they
after
could
running
do.
up the 18th hole with Keegan Bradley holding a US flag. It's the least they could do.
But I don't think people expected that Aberg was the only European to win.
Of course.
To win a game. That's extraordinary.
We went into the final day 11.5, 4.5.
Absolutely.
It was done.
It was.
But it wasn't. That's the thing. It wasn't done. And 15-13, I think, is the scoreline that they will remember. I don't think. Well, are many of you out there?
How did Bob McIntyre do?
Bottled it.
Bob McIntyre misses a 4-foot putt.
Bob McIntyre got half a point at the end.
Just about.
Bob McIntyre, don't you point?
Just about.
Bob McIntyre.
If he'd have sunk that 4-foot putt, everything else would have fallen into place. But he didn't.
More than played his part. But let's go with it. Is Simon right? Did the Americans bottle it? Or were you like me, frightened to death that they damn near were going to win it? 03717 223344. And what about the behaviour of the crowd? We'll get to some of that shortly. 03717 223344 81089. The morning after the night before Europe won the Ryder Cup. Good morning, everybody. Thank you already for the sheer volume of calls is amazing. So many of you want to come on and join myself, Simon, and Martin and Neil. I'm absolutely delighted about that. We'll talk about the Ryder Cup again in just a minute or two from now. What a weekend we saw. Will we have another weekend like that one anytime soon? I doubt it. Europe just got there in the Ryder Cup, but they won it 15-13. Simon says the Americans collapsed. Maybe they did. We'll get to that. Arsenal won at a time when Liverpool lost. Wow. And Chelsea lost at home to Brighton. Rangers got a much-needed win in Scotland for Russell Martin, but is it going to be enough to save him? Methinks maybe not. We'll get to all of that this morning, but let's stay with the Ryder Cup and so many of you getting in touch this morning. Europe won it 15-13, but all sorts of questions being asked this morning, not least about that New York crowd. European players subjected to abuse, personal insult, shouting as they were swinging in mid-swing on the tee. Rory McIlroy came in for a lot of it. Chance of FU Rory early on Saturday. At one point, McIlroy called over the referee, refused to putt until the barracking stopped. And there was fighting in the grandstand just off the 18th. Police officers were in at one point. They were called in and then, can you believe it, in a golf tournament, had to follow the players round in the four balls, especially in the match of McIlroy, Lowry, Thomas and Young. The police escorting them. Have you ever seen anything like it? The American captain Keegan Bradley spoke about it on Saturday night.
You said the way your players have played is maybe partly to blame for some of the fans crossing the line.
I did not say that. That's not what I said.
Okay.
I said the fans are probably upset that their home team is losing. I did not say that.
Okay, sorry. But do you think do you bear some responsibility in terms of some of the words that you and your players used beforehand in terms of stoking up the fans to bring a hostile?
What words were those?
To bring chaos and just talking up the atmosphere. Colin Murray.
Yeah, I mean, there's Ryder Cups are wild. I don't appreciate those words that you just said. I know what you're trying to do. The Ryder Cup is full of passionate fans. They're full of passionate players, and that wasn't right.
Good for him.
Keegan Bradley. Do you think he could have done more, though, Simon, to tone it down a bit?
No, not really. I mean, I think he was absolutely right. It's twice I've seen journalists being pulled up in the last couple of days. Saw Laura Consberg being pulled up by James Cleverly yesterday because she was misrepresenting what he said. You've got a golf captain not allowing the journalist to be the story and allowing the journalist to ask questions that are accurate and then at least hold him by his own account. No, I don't think so. I think, are they jingoistic? Are they full of themselves? Are Americans terrible losers and very bad winners too? Yeah, a lot of the time they are. But what did we want? Did we want... I don't expect to hear some of the things that I heard about Rory McIlroy having to listen to observations made about his wife and about his particular activities in his personal life and those sort of things being utilised or said during the course of the time. No, they're not great. But I think the opportunity was not to make it feel welcome for the Europeans, not to make them feel like they're at home. It was to create, to some extent, a bit of a bear pit of an atmosphere and see if they could stand up to it.
Yeah,
but they could, and they did.
But the Americans overdid it. Some of them in the crowd overdid it. Rory McIlroy's wife, Erica Martin, continued to follow Rory's matches, despite being subjected to repeated taunts and having beer splashed over her on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, those things are out of order, but I agree with Simon. And the fact is that you wanted to create a bit of chaos. When the Ryder Cup has taken on this persona, now that you are expecting the home fans to be raucous, to be and they are not going to... They may actually, in your backswing, they might actually be shouting some sort of abuse at the end of it. I think you have to deal with these things. Now, it is out of hand, yes, if somebody's telling you to F off all the time. Yeah. That's it. But the other point is this, you're telling Keegan Bradley there about creating chaos. That's exactly what you want to do.
But Martin, if the European fans behave like that in 2 years' time in Ireland, will you have no problem with that?
Absolutely not.
No problem with it?
No problem.
Splashing beer over one of the players' wives.
Getting back to what I said, Jim, I just said that was overplaying. Yeah. Absolutely. That is not right. But the rest of it is raucous. It's getting an atmosphere. But in fact, it's what, believe it or not, outside the swearing and telling people to F off and throwing beer, it's what the Ryder Cup is actually about now.
But it's also, we mustn't allow it to be, people are responsible for their own behaviour. Right, and there's too much of it in society saying, well, he made me do this, and he made... The next conversation we heard, this is Donald Trump's America, that's why it's behaving this way. It's nothing to do with it. Social media has a lot to play with how people behave in society because they've gotten used to saying the most crappiest things on air without an accountability, and they think they can carry it forward into everyday life. So this phenomenon that we've got, which is now manifesting itself in all sport, which is people can say things and do things and become aggressive, even in tennis matches, and even in golf now, we've got to an extent where you see that. And that has got everything to do with individual people's behaviour. It's probably got to do a lot with the social media generation that we now have, which is the way that people speak to one another. Nobody can speak to anyone civilly anymore. If you don't like someone's point of view, you have to call them something awful.
How sad is that?
Well, it's terrible. But
I mean, it's more than sad.
But it's not down to Keegan Bradley, and it's not down to the American golfers.
No, but those are... I mean, Bradley's no fool, and he knew those were the kind of questions that were coming his way. And quite rightly,
and he dealt with
were coming his way.
And he dealt
whether he dealt with them or not.
Yeah, and I don't think the forthcoming captain. I don't think the forthcoming captain now in 2 years' time at the Adair Manor will be, maybe not using the words chaotic, but they will be getting.
But as a journalist,
they will be getting the crowd going.
But as a journalist, and I know we disagree on these things at times, it is very important that a journalist doesn't ask loaded questions that are not what people have said and misrepresents things, which is why I said he dealt with it well, because he hoisted the journalist by, hang on a second, you don't get to create a narrative of what I said. This is what I said.
Oh, Bradley was right to say to the fella, no, that's not what I said. And I agree with you on that, Simon. McIlroy, of course, last night, exhausted, emotional, but spoke about some of that abuse that he took non-stop over the weekend.
I don't think we should ever accept that in golf. I think golf should be held to a higher standard than what was... than what was seen out there this week. Golf has the ability to unite people. Golf teaches you very good life lessons. It teaches you etiquette. It teaches you how to play by the rules. It teaches you how to respect people. And sometimes this week we didn't see that. So, no, this should not be what is acceptable in the Ryder Cup. But, we will be making sure to say to our fans in Ireland in 2027 that, what happened here this week is not acceptable. And it's, for me, it's, come and support your home team. Come and support your team. I think if I was an American, I would be annoyed that I didn't hear a lot of shouts for Scotty today, but I heard a lot of shouts against me. And it's like, support your players.
He's right, Martin, isn't he?
For the most part.
Golf should be held to a higher standard.
Well, is it? Is it really at the end of it all? He says golf teaches you life lessons. Well, not the way I play it. And hasn't taught me too many of those things. I'll get back to the point. You expected a raucous crowd. In fact, you would have been disappointed if the crowd hadn't been raucous. They went over the top in terms of the language that they used, and if there was beer spilling over people, that is just not acceptable. But at the end of it all, the same situation will arise in Ireland in 2 years' time. They may not behave in that sort of manner, but it will be raucous, and they will be ready for it as well too.
Yeah,
Europeans did brilliantly. You still have to fight those things. Rory, believe it or not, one of the great players of all time, has been used to crowds, even in America, cheering for him. This is the first time he's actually had crowds cheering against him.
Yes, yeah.
And in fairness to him, he stood up to it.
He did.
And
but here's the thing, though, Simon, get into the half-time break. There is a difference between raucous and abusive.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to get the balance right between hurty words, right? Because people say nasty things to one another. The fact is, I don't want us to get too high on our pious horse about how awful it was. Because dollars for donuts, when they come over here, there'll be a section of the British fans do the same to them, and we'll be sitting there telling everyone how awful it was and how appalling the American fans were. And then they'll come over here, and a section of our fans will do it, and we'll look like hypocrites. So I want to get the balance right. We won. We beat them.
Yes.
There were a few people that said a few nasty things inside the crowd, and they shouldn't be tolerated. And the fact that the American PGA charged $750 a ticket to go and watch it should have excluded some of those people from it, but it didn't.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is that we beat them, and they didn't like it. And next time they come over, we'll beat them here as well.
Rick Broadbent in the Times. The stupid, classless golf hooligan dragged the Ryder Cup from corporate hospitality to the depths on Saturday. He goes on to say, apologists will say it's a minority, but it's a very vocal one. And the Ryder Cup now has a serious problem. It wants a tribal atmosphere of a football match that creates dollars and drama, but without fans calling the referee and you don't want to know that.
Dun, 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 dun.
So let's put it out there. This tribalistic nature of the Ryder Cup, does it actually make the thing a more watchable spectacle? In your eyes, the tribalistic nature of it. We've gone from raucous to abusive. Are you all right with that? Let us know your feelings this morning. 03717 223344 81089. The morning after the night before, Europe won the Ryder Cup.
It was almost one of the greatest comebacks in sports history, but a stoic Irishman held his nerve to help Team Europe win the Ryder Cup.
But I said to my caddy walking down 18, I said, I've got an opportunity to do the greatest thing I've ever done today, and I did it.
Shane Lowry's heroics on 18 retained the cup for Europe. Tyrrell Hatton in the penultimate game sealed the win. It's the first on foreign soil in 13 years, and Luke Donald becomes the first captain to win home and away since Tony Jacklin in 1987. So go on then, Luke, what's the secret?
This wasn't an impossible task. We knew it was going to be difficult. But you want to inspire them to know that it can be done. You know, my job, again, is to give them the reasons to make them believe that they can win.
Just as there were after victory in Rome, chants of 2 more years were heard through the night in New York. There's more reaction on the talkSPORT Golf YouTube channel. In the Premier League, Arsenal are just 2 points behind Liverpool after Gabriel's late winner over Newcastle, while Villa came from behind to beat Fulham, claiming their first win of the season. But we're talking yet again about another chastening weekend for Ruben Amorim and Manchester United, who lost 3-1 at Brentford. Amorim said afterwards he's not concerned about job security, but talkSPORT's Alex Crook isn't a fan of that.
I think that's a little bit arrogant from Ruben Amorim to say that he's not concerned about his position, having picked up so few wins, so few points.
Get more fallout from the weekend at talksport.com.
Good morning, everybody. Monday morning, and what a weekend to reflect upon. Monday, September the 29th. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin O'Neill. We're all live on talkSPORT. As always, you can watch the show on your TV. We're everywhere. Samsung, Fire TV, Android, Google TV, even Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch, we are here doing it for you on the 17th floor of the news building. Many of you getting in touch. Incidentally, Graham Potter sacked at the weekend by West Ham's hierarchy. In comes Nuno Espirito Santo, literally, and tonight he's in charge as West Ham at Everton. We'll get to that. It's live in talkSPORT. You didn't miss a thing regards the Ryder Cup. It was live in talkSPORT over the weekend. The Americans went too far, but I think it's not just golf, but a wider issue in society at present. Unfortunately, that is the case, says Ken in Newcastle. With regard, says Mike, to the Ryder Cup, America, as always, they went way over the top. They have to manufacture their emotions. It's all whoopee-doo and garbage chants. They don't have the raw emotion like the Europeans have. Some interesting comments coming in this morning. But what about it? Where did it get to, this tribalistic nature of the Ryder Cup? What has it become? And does it make it more of a spectacle for you? Or is Rory McIlroy right? The abuse was unacceptable and golf should be held to a higher standard. 03717 223344. The calls are coming in. James, good morning. You're a West Ham fan. I thought you'd maybe call later on when we're talking about Potter going, James.
You're right, Jim. Simon, Martin.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, we'll see how Nuno does tonight. Fingers crossed. On the Ryder Cup, it was just so inevitable it was going to happen. Why the Ryder Cup didn't have spotters amongst the crowd and just chuck them out before it got too bad? We wouldn't have to have had state troopers in there. I sort of like juggled my days at work so I could spend 3 days watching it. And on the Saturday afternoon, I just wanted to turn it off. I didn't, but that's how it made me feel. It was just vulgar.
Really? So it turns you off, really, to be honest, James, the shenanigans of the crowd?
I mean, I'm no shrinking violet, don't get me wrong, being a West Ham. It was just absolutely disgusting, and I feel so sorry for McIlroy and whoever it was aimed at.
Sure thing. James, I wonder if Rob, who's a Liverpool fan, big golf fan, I wonder if he agrees with you. Good morning, Rob. What did you think of it?
Hi, gents. First of all, I think it was an absolutely fantastic weekend of golfing spectacle. I thought the whole thing was brilliant. I think the Ryder Cup is built and has become the competition that it is because of raucous nature of the fans. Not saying that some of the behaviour didn't overstep the line, because it absolutely did, but the Ryder Cup is the Ryder Cup because of that nature and how the fans behave. You don't see that in sports such as Davis Cup, and unfortunately that is what is driving the popularity of the Ryder Cup. And
so Rob, you don't go with Rory. You don't go with Rory saying it's unacceptable, the level of abuse, that the sport should be held to a higher account.
I think there should be a level of higher account, and that's down to the golf fraternity itself to be able to police that. And I do think that what Rory specifically experienced was over the line on a number of occasions, and certainly anything to do with his family is completely out of order. But that raucous nature of the fans on the Ryder Cup is what makes it such a popular sport and such an amazing event that it wasn't probably 40 or 50 years ago.
Okay, Rob, thanks for that. Dan, Plymouth fan, golf fan, Rob's having it. He's saying it makes it even more watchable now. Do you agree?
Yeah, I completely agree, and I agree with what Simon's saying. I think that at the end of the day, Rory McIlroy comes out at the end of the last Ryder Cup, stoking the fire, basically straight after a win. And then, he's outspoken on stuff in the past. He was chastising people who went to live golf. He got in an argument in a car park with someone at a previous tournament. And then when people turn on him, he don't like it. At the end of the day, when you're paid millions and millions like these professionals are, people think they own a bit of you. And at the end of the day, whether you agree with that or not, they've all got enough money to walk away if they don't like it.
Do you wonder how you might have reacted if you were Rory?
I think that you have the option when you're in that position. Rose, he didn't react. DeChambeau's caddy was right in his face. He acted with class and dignity. Rory McIlroy turns around and starts telling the fans to F off. At the end of the day, I think we'd all deal with things differently, but this is probably why I'm not a professional sportsman, and he is.
It's a good call, Dan.
Probably wouldn't have been able to control myself.
That's a good call, isn't it? It's honest from Dan.
Yeah, it's a balance call. Look, Rory is a different personality, and the game of golf is made up of different personalities. And I think that we are in an age where engagement in sport is at its highest level it's ever been. Sport has become even more important than it ever was. And so it's not unsurprising that the level of interest and engagement and potential participation, both negative and good, from fans is at the level it's at. It is. You cannot ask for a sport to be seeded in emotion and then say only that kind of emotion, but not that kind of emotion.
It's strange though, Martin, what one sport will tolerate, whereas another won't. If we're talking about football over the weekend, events like this and incidents like these are 10 a penny. A player taking a corner kick, he gets dog's abuse.
Well, let's be fair. I think one of the callers was talking about there's none of this happens in the Davis Cup, but no one's really interested in the Davis Cup. Is the whole point, really. Everybody's interested in this 3-day event. It's become one of the big events in world sport.
To be fair, I went to the quarterfinals of the Davis Cup when Great Britain, when Andy Murray played against the French, and they did give it to the French, and there was a different atmosphere at tennis in the Davis Cup than there was before. Not as raucous as this, but I think sport ad infinitum is developing a higher level of, I think, sometimes confected emotion.
That's a good point. There is. I don't know which golf course it is in America, but there is a par 3 hole, where it is surrounded by hospitality tents all over the place, where the crowd are allowed to give the player. It might be good-natured, but they're allowed to actually shout. Now, not in someone's backswing, but eventually they're allowed to shout and they're allowed to roar, and they're allowed to keep that roaring going, even right up to the very second.
Yeah, but the key words there are good-natured.
It's relatively good-natured, but if you're a nervous golfer, I'm gone too personally. Right. So, but no, it is a raucous event. There's no question, and it maybe went over stepped over the mark. But overall, this is what the people want, and this is why it's watchable.
John, did you find that, big Leeds fan, but golf fan too? What did you think, John? Did it make the event more watchable for you?
No, I thought it was absolutely disgusting. This happens all the time, every time it's played in the States. If you go back to 1999, the behaviour of the support, the American crowd there, and some of the players back then was despicable. But then again, what you've got to think of, this is America. This is a country where there's a lack of class, I'm afraid. You've only got to look at the way the Americans are, not all, but majority, that they talk slovenly, they dress slovenly, and above all, they eat slovenly. So it doesn't surprise me the way that they conducted themselves. It was appalling, absolutely disgusting. Golf is etiquette, it's got decorum, and that was way over the line. And no player, whether it's an American player or a British, Irish player, anybody for that matter, should have abuse, certainly aimed at their wife, having beer thrown at them, and then shouting, get in the hole. It was disgusting. But that's America for you, I'm afraid.
That's what America's become in your eyes, John. There is Duncan. I've been watching the Ryder Cup for over 30 years. I've never, ever seen this before. Shouting personal insults at players who should be respected. Martin, I think you're a British golf fan. Are you in North America? Where are you calling us from?
Morning, gents. From
where?
Originally, but I now live in Florida. I'm from Oldham near Manchester, but I now live in Florida as a dual citizen. So, yeah, we had a little bit of a nervous evening from both ends yesterday.
What did you make of it all? Do you side with McIlroy that the abuse is unacceptable? Golf should be held to a higher standard? Or did it make the whole damn thing more watchable for you? Wait, go on.
No, absolutely. It was way over the top, but I think that was always going to be the case in New York. New York's its own little place in the US. I think if you stage that in Boston, Chicago, LA, there would be a totally different fan experience because New Yorkers are just what they are. They're brash, they're loud, and they like being abusive to other sportsmen. So it didn't surprise me, but it just went way, way too far. And that was my takeaway from last night was, if we would have lost that in the last minute, I dread to think what it would have been like for me living back there, first of all.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and just for the years to come, we would never have heard the last of it. So it wasn't unexpected. It was just very, very disappointing. And speaking to my American friends back home, they were embarrassed. You know, they were embarrassed, but not surprising.
Mark, finally, what was it? What was the mood like on US? Were you watching it on a US channel? Because when
I'm back in the UK at the moment.
You're
so
back here. You watched it here, right?
Yeah. The quick point I wanted to make really was I think the importance of Bob McIntyre winning that last half a point cannot be underestimated.
There you
because
go.
I think if he would have lost that, it would have been 14.5, 13.5. We would then have had the Americans spin in the Victor Hovland story, because if they would have said, with Harris English would have been in, it would have been a draw, and they would have spun it to death, which is what they're good at. So I think by him winning that last half point, it took that argument out of the equation. So I was really glad about that we had that kind of open 2 points.
Well said, Martin.
Just to take away that conversation, really.
Yes.
That was my takeaway from it, really.
Well said. Maybe Simon would like to apologise for that earlier remark about Bob McIntyre, where he had a sneer and a swipe at the Scotsman, who won half a point. He's absolutely right, actually. It made it even all the more sweet for the Scots watching last night. Can we do it, David? You've been waiting long enough, mate. Newcastle fan, but big golf fan. What did you think of what the Ryder Cup's become?
Jim, truthfully, I watched it. I loved it. Everything was fantastic. But their fans made me angry. And I said to your colleague before, I said, please let Simon Jordan fly me over to America and throw me in the middle of that crowd. As soon as they threw that bottle on Erica McIlroy, I said to my friends last night, let's get Simon Jordan to fly me over and just throw me into that crowd, because that was absolutely disgusting.
That would be an interesting development for sure, David, if that was to happen. David, listen, thanks for the call. I don't suppose you want to fly David over anytime soon. The caller was right about big Bob McIntyre incident.
My point was, if McIntyre sunk that putt on the 16th, I think it was, he'd have gone one up in that game and it had all been done.
Oh, really?
That was my point.
Oh, really? I see.
Well-made point, I thought at the time.
To quote you, if my aunt were my uncle. Or my uncle. Inkle. Sorry. God damn it, I nearly got mad.
Be smart.
I tell you what, it was a sharp intake of breath for all of us, but the Europeans got there, 15-13, and that is the story of it, yes, but by God, with our hearts in our mouths. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, who's not going to fly any Newcastle fans to the US anytime soon, and Martin and Neil. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Good morning, everybody. Monday morning, Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin O'Neill. We're going to go on to the subject of football from 11 onwards, and plenty to talk about there, with Arsenal, such a crucial win for them at St James's Park, Liverpool losing, Chelsea losing, and all the rest that goes with that. The Ryder Cup. Let's get the view of a past player. Chris Wood, a European Tour golfer, Ryder Cup player back in 2016. Chris played for Team Europe at the Hazeltine National Golf Club in Chaska, Minnesota. And I'm delighted to say Chris joins us live in the show. Chris, good morning. How did your experience then compare to what you witnessed over the weekend?
Morning, guys. Yeah, I would say it's gone up a level for sure. I certainly experienced a little bit of it when I played. My wife had a little bit in the singles match when I played. But I think the whole situation being in New York, there was a lot talked about, wasn't there? Obviously, before the Ryder Cup, leading up to it, that the sports fans in New York are rowdy. They can cross the line, and we saw that happen.
And Chris, what about Rory's comments? The abuse is unacceptable. Golf should be held to a higher standard. It's your love. It's your sport. Should it?
I think being where it was had such an influence on it. The Americans in general, they tend to be sports fans, don't they? Whereas when we play in Europe, we get more sort of hardy golf fans. So it's quite a different demographic. So in terms of coming back over to Adair Manor in 2 years' time, I wouldn't have any worries about it. The fans are quite different. You hear a lot when the US players come and play in the Open Championship, they often say about these are the best golf fans in the world. And obviously there'll be some Americans that travel over to Ireland. There'll be a big contingent, I'm sure. But in general, I've got no worries about 2 years' time.
Chris, you know, before Martin and Simon will come in, I'm sure, but when you got that little bit of abuse back in 2016, were you like Rory and Lowry? Did you give a bit back?
No, because I was playing with Justin Rose in our foursomes game, and he gave me a nice bit of advice. He said, just don't react. He said, we're playing over here at the moment. You know, you're playing some events in America. You've got to come back and play on your own. Don't react. That's the best thing to do. And I think all those comments that they get, I genuinely think the Europeans would use it as fuel, because I've seen Rory at events that we've played, you know, tour events. And he's come up against some adversity, not on this level, but sometimes as a golfer, you can have a poor finish or things don't quite go your way, and you come off the golf course really agitated. And I've seen Rory, he'll do something like he'll go to the gym, he'll sprint it off, get it out of his system. And we've seen it in the Ryder Cup a couple of years ago in Rome when the bust up with Patrick Cantlay's caddy. He turned that sort of on its head the following day, and I remember thinking I wouldn't want to be playing Rory tomorrow in the singles, because he will just be using that, and he went on to win that match. But I really think the European spirit, they would just use it as so much fuel to the fire.
Mr. Jordan here, Chris is saying the Americans bottled it over the first couple of days. Do you agree?
Well, they got hammered, didn't they, for the first 2 days? I think this Ryder Cup really highlighted the Europeans as a team and the Americans as individuals. And we saw that over the format. The first 2 days, you're obviously out in twos, and you feel very much a team. When you get to Sunday and you go out and play your singles match, all of a sudden you feel quite exposed. You feel on your own. And Darren Clark, the captain when I played, was very much he talked about that a lot going into our singles, to unite with your caddy as much as you can. We all like a little bit of space at times, but you had to try and carry that team element over, and that's where sometimes the support from the vice captains can be really useful. I noticed Thomas Bjorn was with Rory for all 18 holes yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
almost playing bodyguard. Thomas is a great ally, but I wouldn't. You don't want to be on the wrong side of Thomas Bjorn.
No, it doesn't look good, does it, Simon?
I was going to ask you, Chris, what did you make of the last day in terms of the Americans' performance? Did you look at it as you were watching it, thinking that the momentum was going with them, that the European resolve was weakening, or did you attribute it just to being brilliant American play? And the second part of the question was, what did you make of Bryson DeChambeau coming back from 5 down against Matt Fitzpatrick? And what would you be thinking if you were Matt Fitzpatrick during the course of that game?
Yeah, I mean, the American display overall was outstanding. The first 2 days, I've never seen the Americans miss so many opportunities to either win a hole or have a hole. So I think it was a matter of time before that happened. They go out in the singles with nothing to lose. Bryson was almost playing sort of cheerleader from day one. He was ramping the crowd up. He thrives on that. I thought it was a tough game for Fitzy because Fitzy's a quiet lad. He just goes about his business. But when he gets 5 up, you're thinking, well, that's a point in the bag for Europe. But I go back to Bryson. At the Open Championship, he's up to 78 in the first round this year and finished in the top 10. There's something about him that you have to admire. Love him or loathe him, you have to admire his fight and how his never give up, never say die attitude.
Martin, what do you want to say to Chris before he leaves us? Some great points from Chris Wood this morning.
Yeah, Chris, you just mentioned there some of the Americans going into the last day with nothing to lose. And I would never want to disagree with you having played the game, but I would have thought that they would have a lot to lose because they were already in an embarrassing position. So I think that they showed some fight I probably do take your point as well too that there seems to be more about a team about Europe as well, and has been for the last couple of Ryder Cups. But what I was trying to say is that what would have happened if let's say Cameron Young is beaten early on, things like this here. Yeah. The last thing the Americans want, they were already in a desperate shape. They were in desperate shape, but I don't think that they had nothing to lose. I think they had plenty to lose in that sense.
I take your point. I think at that level of sport, as you well know, it's such fine margins. There were, I mean, let's just take Shane, for example. Shane hit an unbelievable shot into 16 to about 3 feet. Mm-hmm. Russell Henley was about 25, 30 feet away, and he's 1 up at the time. And you almost see that as, well, Shane's going to win this. I'll get back to all square. Russell Henley knocked his putt in, mm-hmm. and obviously Shane knocked his in to remain 1 down. But there were such fine margins at that stage where it could have played out quite differently. And I think for about an hour, there was genuine worry as a European player and a European fan to think this is actually possible here. The Americans could do it, but thankfully, just got across the line.
Chris, give me one word to finish with. As a former European Ryder Cup player, how do you feel this morning?
Inspired. It's unbelievable to watch, and as a player, if you ever need any inspiration, just watch the Ryder Cup.
Top man. Chris Wood, thank you so much. Chris played in the European Ryder Cup in 2016. We watched in amazement over the weekend. The Americans came so damn close, but Europe came out on top, and Europe won the Ryder Cup. It's 11 o'clock.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With the headlines at 11:03, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Europe's victorious Ryder Cup golfers are now back home, but before leaving New York, they left a message for the US president.
Are you watching? Are you watching? Are you watching? Are you watching Donald Trump? Are you watching Donald Trump?
Donald Trump has replied online saying, yes, I am watching. Congratulations. Europe held off a massive USA fight back in the singles to win 15-13, but the damage was done in the foursomes and four balls. World number one Scotty Scheffler went 0-4 before beating McIlroy in the singles. Lee Westwood told talkSPORT the US have struggled to find natural partnerships.
It happened with Tiger Woods. They always struggle to find a partner for him, and it looks like, they're struggling to find a partner for Scotty as well. I don't know what the reason for that is. It should be the easiest thing in the world to do. But when you looked at our team, there were obvious partnerships that just jumped out at you.
Loads more reaction on talkSPORT's Golf YouTube channel. Now, Mikel Arteta's told us Arsenal's late win at Newcastle is a statement performance in this title race. Both Arsenal and Newcastle are back in action live on talkSPORT midweek. On Wednesday evening, Arsenal host Olympiacos in the Champions League as Newcastle go to Tony Bloom's Belgian boys Union Saint-Gilloise. And we understand Enzo Maresca's got the backing of the Chelsea board after losses against Bayern, Man United and Brighton. Jeff Stelling's blaming Chelsea's poor recruitment strategy.
Buy every winger in the world. Buy Gittins. Buy Garnacho. Buy Esteban. Everybody could see that the centre halves, the central defence that Chelsea had, were not good enough.
There's more on all this at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The Chancellor's backed the Prime Minister's claim that Nigel Farage's migrant policy is racist, but says Reform supporters are not, and every long-term unemployed young person is soon going to be offered paid work. More from the news team at 5:30.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Today it's raining tyres in our centres, including top-notch brands like Pirelli. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Fine day for most of us with plenty of sunshine, cloudier in the northwest and in western Scotland where there's outbreaks of rain and brisk winds.
Good morning, everybody. 6 minutes past 11 o'clock. This is Monday, September the 29th. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin O'Neill. And we are live on talkSPORT, coming your way in various different ways on TV as well. You can watch us live, Chromecast, Android, Prime Video, wherever you want to watch us. We are there for you. A lot to get through. So much for the Ryder Cup. Well done, Europe. Well done. Thank God they did it. We'd never have lived it down, would we? 3 weeks after his sacking at Nottingham Forest, Nuno Espirito Santo is back and he's a new manager at West Ham. Saturday morning, the statement came through from West Ham United. Results and performances over the course of the second half of last season and the start of this one have not matched expectations, and the board of directors believe that a change is necessary in order to improve the team's position in the Premier League as soon as possible. Funny that, because only days ago on Sunday Edition, board member Karen Brady said this.
Graham is a forward-thinking manager. He's sort of calm under pressure. He's very detailed in his approach. He's a great manager of players. He builds a special relationship with players and they understand where he's coming from. And he has a modern mindset. And all of those things mean that it does take some time to put a team together, to get the team playing the way that you want. I mean, West Ham is not a club that panics about its managers. We tend to stick with tend to support people, stick with them, and see it through. I really hope he does well. He's a pleasure to work with. He's incredibly professional, and I know the players respect him.
And they sacked him. So out he goes. Simon, you always say, what's the point of a mind if you can't change it?
I also told you what Karen said was absolute drivel, because they'd had Lopetaki for 5 months and sacked him. So it was a thing that they do. It had been done. So, I mean, she must have slipped her mind. And there was no indication to me that Graham Potter was going to make any difference in the ensuing weeks that he hadn't been able to make in the previous ones. So I didn't take any of that. And if you remember when we discussed it, I said precisely that as I say now. But, you know, Graham Potter is the architect of his own downfall. I mean, are you surprised he's been sacked?
Let's ask the chairman of the LMA, Mr. O'Neill. What was your take when you heard it?
You mean when he got sacked? Well, you're in the business. Any manager over at the age of 18 knows what to expect in the game. It's as simple as that. You're in the results business. You've always been in the results business, and you take it on knowing exactly this is it. So you have to win football games. I've repeated this so many times. You have to win football games. I know this here to my own cost. Things that you have to do it. And if you're not winning football matches, then you are in trouble. It's really as simple as that.
Martin,
what you don't want to have is that the last thing you want to have is someone telling you from board level that your job is safe when you know it is not safe. This is the point, because, you know, it's the, the old fate that awaits you. Now, Karen has said those words. I think now, I think she should, don't say anything. Please don't say anything. You can, if someone's asking you, is your manager's job safe? Just don't say anything.
The fatal backing of the board. But as chairman of the LMA, and I know you're on with us and you're giving your views as Martin O'Neill, and that's great. That's why we have you. But Graham Potter spoke in the build-up to West Ham going to Everton tonight, which is live in talkSPORT, as part of his pre-match duties. Yeah. Was it disrespectful of West Ham and the hierarchy to let it go that far?
Yes,
and stick him in there.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. I don't care. It's absolutely right. He should not. If they know that he's going to go on Saturday morning, why do the press conference on Friday?
What are you laughing at?
And what was his human rights transgressed, were they? Should we take ourselves out of the ECHR because Graham Potter had to do a press conference?
No, that's not the point.
It doesn't matter. First of all, he's not.
No, wait a minute. So,
if I sack you,
I was asked the question. Was it disrespectful? I think that.
Okay.
Yes. Was it going to change things?
Well,
no.
Do I think it's an ideal way to behave? I think you're probably right, Martin.
All right.
What does respect or disrespect come into it? There was a press conference that needed to be had. What the balancing act is, I wouldn't have done it that way, but let's try and work your way through the mind of David Sullivan if anyone wants to dark into that murky little space, right? And have a look and say, what would you do? You've got a press conference, right? What are you going to do? You haven't quite got Nuno across the line. So you're dotting the I's and crossing the T's. You've got a press conference. You want to give the world's media an opportunity by going, no Graham Potter today. Or you go,
so what, as an owner, you just feed them Potter?
Because what you do is...
On you go, Graham.
What you do is you say to Graham Potter, you're going to do a press conference, right? And then you go, I'm going to fire you and I'm going to pay you for the next 3 years. Let's get context. Right, he went and did a bloody press conference.
If it was you,
he wasn't put in front of stock and thrown tomatoes.
So what you're saying, sorry, Jim, what you're saying is that they told Graham Potter on Friday before he did the press conference, you're right.
I doubt it. Well, but what you're talking about is this perceived expectation of professional courtesy and what you think you're entitled to, which often is not the same courtesy that's exhibited by managers back to their owners, you included.
No, listen, let me start again.
Good.
The very word that Jim mentioned was disrespectful. That's all. Is it an inevitability that manager doesn't get results? Just a second.
But what I'm saying
and
is,
you say to me included. Sorry, so give me that again.
Well, I'll give you an example of you by your own admission, talking about your attitude towards Randy Lerner and some of your responses to it, and you look back on it with the benefit of hindsight and said, wouldn't have done that, wouldn't have said that, wouldn't have behaved that way. Now, go back into this situation where you're the owner of a football club, you've got a press conference coming up, you know you're going to let the manager go, you know you're going to have to pay this manager for doing a job that wasn't particularly good. So you take the lesser of two evils, you go, what am I going to do? I'm going to do a press conference which people in their little ivory towers might consider to be disrespectful. Disrespectful will be firing him, trying to chip him for his wages. That'll be disrespectful.
My job actually was particularly good because we had just qualified for Europe. We finished in the top 6. That time I left my job. I left my job in what shall I say,
reminding
ominous
I'm only reminding
circumstances.
him of what you said.
No, no. What I said is that I dealt with it badly.
Well,
I dealt with it badly, but I did not leave in terms of the job that I left. Actually, as I said, we were finished in Europe. Anyway, that's beside the point. I just wanted to let you know that. But here was the point. I'm getting back to it. It was disrespectful to do this here. If you know, all right, then he hasn't. So David Sullivan hasn't got Nuno over the line at 9 o'clock.
What should they do then?
What should they do?
What's just out of curiosity?
Well, the game's tonight.
All right.
Cancel the presser. Make it on Sunday morning.
Oh, okay. So let me get this right.
Good shout, Jim.
They cancel the presser, and you would be doing what the next morning? The world media would be going, West Ham have cancelled a presser. They made a judgment call to make a press conference, which is less than ideal.
What would you have done?
What do you... I don't know, actually.
Well,
all of a sudden,
I'll answer the question. I'll answer the question. I would have taken the lesser two evils, and the lesser two evils would be Graham Potter, right? Because I brought Graham Potter in to do a job. He didn't do it. He stank the place out, and now I've got to pay him to go away. So I'm not particularly amused by him in the first place. So he would be my last concern. My bigger concern would be, how am I managing my going concern? My going concern, what's going is Potter. What is a bigger picture for me is what happened next.
Right, so they made the announcement on Saturday morning. They threw Potter into the press conference on Friday.
Yes.
Well, as you say, they might not have got Nuno over the line by then. That's their problem.
Sure. So do they manage it for the well-being of an individual, or do they manage it for the well-being of the collective?
No, but we're talking about respect.
That's all it is. That's all.
That's all it is.
Just a little
nonsense. It's the real world.
You
call us a pair of fannies.
Bleeding heart liberals of the world unite.
I can understand you having so many managers who didn't...
not the point. It's not the point.
Just a second. Who didn't do the job that you wanted them to do. So you hired
that's what Marinakis thought about you.
You hired
let Martin finish his point, please.
Absolutely. Wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah. You hired managers that you thought could do the job.
I did.
And you fired them pretty quickly.
Because they didn't do it.
You absolutely, because they didn't do it after 3 games.
He's forgotten how many he fired.
I walked past 19. Most of my managers were past 19. You didn't even make 19.
I got 19. I got 19 and we won the last 3 and I was out it. But listen, it's my point is back to Jim's point. That's all it is. If you know that you're going to fire a manager, get on with it and do it.
He's got to say this.
That's the point.
Because he's engineered a position with the LMLA.
Unless there's a fairly decent chance. Wait a minute. West Ham at the end of it all, it's still a big job. So Nuno, with respect, and I've not spoken to him about this and I don't really know him, but there's a fairly decent chance on Thursday night he's going to take the job. He's going to take the job. He hasn't taken it at 9 o'clock on Friday. Oh, gosh, we're in a bit of a pickle. No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
He's got to say this because he's the chairman of the LMA. He's got to say it.
No, don't have to say this. Not at all.
That does nothing.
No, I do not have to say this.
There's a right way and a wrong way.
At the LMA, I do not call any shot at the LMA. My role is not that at all.
Maybe you should. But get a few more things done.
Well done. And... So I just get back.
Get back to your true colours this morning, boy.
For his Jordan, who's had 35 managers to his credit. You know,
I can't remember how many is that we've sacked now. Yeah, Binham. Anyway, so Graham Potter is gone. Nuno is in, and we'll maybe hear a bit of Nuno after this break. It's a controversial one, but an enjoyable one this morning. Live on talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Espirito Santo in at West Ham and is in charge for the first time tonight. It's live on talkSPORT. Everton up against West Ham United. Graham Potter has gone, sacked over the weekend. Goodbye to you, Graham. Maybe we'll see him at another club sometime soon. Probably we will. But in the meantime, in comes Nuno, and he's got to turn around the West Ham ship, because at the moment West Ham 19th, 1 win in 5, and they've got it all to do. Nuno spoke briefly to the club channel.
First of all, what is important is that now we know each other, mainly us, the squad, the players. This is what is more important now. And we are here working. We started yesterday, realizing that, as you said, big club, expectations. But before all the expectations, all the achievements that we desire, that we want to do, we must create a platform of knowledge, of coming closer to the fans, the team and the fans, and from there we can start building.
Martin alongside Simon this morning. I'll get to it, Martin. I mean, ownership protests, fans out in big numbers, thousands of them protesting at the moment. They hate the stadium. They're not having it. They don't call it home. They don't want it to be their home. How appealing an environment or otherwise is this for him to be walking into?
It's still a great job. You are managing a team in the Premier League. Hey, wait a minute. What's to hate about that? It's an opportunity for him again. He's got the chance. So fans don't like the stadium. I've never been in love with the stadium as well too. The crowds are too far away. But at the end of, and having said this here, I was in love with Upton Park, except that I was concerned about the chicken run. There's an element, there's a side down the side called the chicken run. Can you imagine me taking a throw in there down in the chicken run, and during the 70s,
especially with that perm,
you got dogs abuse, especially with that perm, absolutely. And but Viv Anderson and I did not want to take a throw in that side of the field.
I can imagine.
But the stadium is as I said, it's too large. They get the crowds. There's no real atmosphere at that particular
Do you like
Olympic
these
stadium.
two managerial appointments? The musical chairs that we've seen. Postecoglou's gone into Forest, and Nuno's now landing at West Ham. Do you like those appointments for both the managers and the clubs?
Do I like them?
Do you like them? Yeah.
I like them as in terms of the personnel stepping into,
do you like
the
characters? Do you like the job that they're going to do? Do you think Postecoglou's the right fit for Forest? Do you think Espirito Santo is the right fit for West Ham? Do you think that the clubs are the right fit for them?
Do you know what? All right, I don't think there's anything. I don't think that you know whether there's a right fit or not.
Well, Postecoglou must be an easy one to answer, mustn't it? Because ultimately he's got a style of play at Tottenham that calls everybody to pull their hair out, besides winning the Europa League against a side now that's going from being a very pragmatic side under Nuno Espirito Santo to perhaps changing. Do you think that's a good fit?
Again, I'm getting back to the point about what's a fit. You can have a style of football, but when Postecoglou went to Tottenham Hotspur, first of all, they started off brilliantly, really brilliantly. They were winning, and he was playing a style. They played Chelsea in the game. He said he wasn't going to change.
Yeah.
That and things do. You become a bit more pragmatic when results are not going in your direction. So what's a fit? So Nuno, who played a sort of a counter-attacking at Nottingham Forest, became successful with it. It was only in the last throes of it.
I was talking.
Sorry, I just. So is this a proper fit for West Ham? It doesn't really matter what the fit is. You have to win.
Is it? Because we've seen West Ham fans bitch and whine about everybody that plays pragmatic football, right? David Moyes played pragmatic football. Sam Allardyce, whether you like it or you didn't, played pragmatic football, commensurate with getting out of the Championship back into it, and they hounded him out. Nuno Espirito Santo plays pragmatic football, shuts the back door, and worries about that first.
All right, okay. He did. Hold on. He did at Nottingham Forest. I'm not so sure they did that there at Wolverhampton Wanderers. Wolverhampton Wanderers won the Championship by a million miles and then end up doing well. So I'm not so sure. Yeah. I'm not so sure. So sometimes what West Ham are looking for just at this minute is to try and get a couple of results together.
Simon,
and they've put their faith in Nuno.
From what we know about Nuno and how he operates, has Sullivan got his hands full here?
Well, I think they've both got what they deserve. I mean, I think Sullivan is a difficult animal to deal with, and people will read back on the way that he's operated. And I've obviously dealt with him commercially on buying and selling footballers, and dealt with him in boardrooms, and I can speak to that. But I also hear stories of how he deals with managers and players, and how he doesn't like this and how he doesn't like that. So, but Spirito Santo will get some of that in his world. And Spirito Santo, I think, is a handful. I think he's a decent football manager that does a decent job. The only place that he's probably failed at when he wasn't given any really headroom was Spurs, because it was a bad fit, full stop. Right? But the fact is that, you saw that he went to Saudi Arabia to get some money. He came back, got given an opportunity to manage in the Premier League again, and did a brilliant job for Nottingham Forest. Well, I think it will be a popcorn moment. I think you'll get to watch this one play out. This is not going to be a marriage made in harmony. There will be challenges. It won't be the same thing as Marinakis rocking on the field, because you won't be able to see David Sullivan along the line of the pitch anyway. But notwithstanding that, you'll still be able to have the belief system that there will be some challenges for both of them.
I mean, what kind of start can you envisage he gets off to? David Moyes and Everton tonight. And we know that Moyes and Everton will want to do everything they can to win that. Then next weekend, West Ham and Nuno go to Arsenal. I mean, is anything going to change anytime soon?
Well, again, now you have to look at some of the players that West Ham have, and they're not actually very good. They're not a good side. It's really as simple as that.
But not good
individually or collectively?
A bit of both. A bit of both. Really, there's no phenomenal pace in the team for a start. There's nothing to be fantastically enthusiastic about.
Yeah, but Martin, should Potter not have got more from them?
Well, you always feel as if a manager should get more, and if he sits and ruminates today, he'll say maybe I should have done this. I've done that myself. I thought maybe I should have got more out of a team. So that's the point. A manager will always ask that question in quiet introspection. But at the end of it all, he's got a chance now to do something. Will he do it immediately? I don't know, because sometimes it's very, very difficult to put ability into a player on a Friday when he doesn't have it on a Thursday.
West Ham go to Everton tonight in Everton's brand new stadium. I can't wait to go there sometime soon myself. It's exclusively live in talkSPORT. Can Nuno get off to a winning start with West Ham at Everton? We shall see. It's live in talkSPORT. So are we at 11:30.
the greatest thing I've ever done today, and I did it.
Shane Lowry's heroics on 18 retained the cup for Europe. Tyrrell Hatton in the penultimate game sealed the win. It's the first on foreign soil in 13 years, and Luke Donald becomes the first captain to win home and away since Tony Jacklin in 1987. So go on then, Luke, what's the secret?
This wasn't an impossible task. We knew it was going to be difficult, but you want to inspire them to know that it can be done. You know, my job again is to give them the reasons to make them believe that they can win.
Just as there were after victory in Rome, chants of 2 more years were heard through the night in New York. There's more reaction on the talkSPORT Golf YouTube channel. In the Premier League, Arsenal are just 2 points behind Liverpool after Gabriel's late winner over Newcastle, while Villa came from behind to beat Fulham, claiming their first win of the season. But we're talking yet again about another chastening weekend for Ruben Amorim and Manchester United, who lost 3-1 at Brentford. Amorim said afterwards he's not concerned about job security, but talkSPORT's Alex Crook isn't a fan of that.
I think that's a little bit arrogant from Ruben Amorim to say that he's not concerned about his position, having picked up so few wins, so few points.
Get more fallout from the weekend at talksport.com.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
I'm now joined by Matt Gibson from BetMGM. We're going to look at some of the odds running about some of the top sporting events. And, of course, one place to start. Matt, good morning. Europe retaining the Ryder Cup. What are you thinking?
My word, fellas! I was expecting an early night last night. I thought we'd have it wrapped up at the top of the order, but yeah, it was a late one. I've got no fingernails left, but you know, Sir Shane Lowry, where does he want his statue? When's his knighthood? All of that stuff, and Tyrrell Hatton securing the half point to make us winners. Ultimately, the team golf cost America, didn't it? I thought the Europeans, the way they interacted with each other, you know, you got Justin Rose yelling at Tommy Fleetwood, "I believe in you," when he holds a putt on a green to win a hole, and the Americans they didn't have that all the way through, and ultimately that's what cost them, because they're a hell of a team when they're just playing for themselves, and it's 1v1. It was great viewing all the way through. You know, you had the Americans 25-30s to win the Ryder Cup Saturday morning. We were checking the live odds. The lads watching last night, they're into about 7-2 when Cam Young gets going and JT holds the putt to win the second game. But ultimately, the Europeans had enough in the tank and just about got over the line. An early look at Adair Manor 2027. I know it's a way away. I think I'll take that long. I need 2 years to recover from it. Europe 4-5 to win on home soil. The draw 12-1, which very nearly happened, and USA 5-4. But me and you were right, Jim, weren't we? At talkSPORT first, we were right. Europeans got it over the line and won the Ryder Cup.
Absolutely, Matt. I'm surprised that Simon hasn't acknowledged that before now. I was strong Europe last week, Simon, if you remember, with absolutely nothing to back it up with.
You were? Did you believe Europe were going to win? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yes, I did.
Did he say that, Matt? I think that's a load of old cobblers, isn't it? He didn't say that at all, did he?
He was very keen on Europe, Simon. He was very keen on Europe all the way through.
Yeah. So there you go. I'm sure it was you sitting beside me last week. Let's look back. Martin's with us, Matt. Let's look back at the Premier League weekend at the top and the bottom of the table.
Yeah, I think it's been spoke about quite a lot this morning. The odds at the top of the league for the title winner have flipped. Arsenal now shorter than Liverpool to win the title, 13-10. We've got them as Liverpool drifted a wee bit to 17-10. I think it was a tale of stoppage time, wasn't it, over the weekend? Crystal Palace providing a late winner. They're 11-2 for top four, Simon, if you're interested.
It was a tale of Crystal Palace battering Liverpool and getting what they deserved, is what it was a tale of.
I completely agree, Simon. I know that's a rarity for you and I, but Crystal Palace were far better than Liverpool and they deserved to win. Arsenal, should Gabriel have been on the pitch, lads? I don't know. I'll leave that one for you to discuss. But ultimately, Arsenal are going to be at the top end of the league. They need to find a way to win, and they did. Speaking of stoppage time, 93rd minute at Ellen Road didn't quite go our way. But I don't think a point against Bournemouth is too bad. At the bottom of the table, gents, Burnley 2-5 for relegation. Wolves, even though they got the first point of the season, 1-2 to be relegated. Sunderland, I found weird. 11-10, we've got them third favourites to be relegated, despite their brilliant start. Obviously beating Forest at the weekend, which I'm not sure which side Martin was cheering for there, but Ange's not yet won a game in charge of Forest, and
Sunderland, right? Well, let's find out now.
You'd be cheering Sunderland, wouldn't you?
Who are you cheering for, Martin?
Sunderland, Forest.
Forest or Sunderland?
A draw.
I mean, Sunderland have been remarkable, Martin, have they not? I mean, when you think of it, just up, and there they are in fifth position this morning.
They've done brilliantly so far.
Yeah,
they acquired a number of players in the summertime. I know they had to gel together, but they desperately needed those players because the side that got promotion, with respect, would have gone straight back down again. They've got players in. There's a bit of an appetite. The fans are right behind the side at this minute, and that's terrific. So they've got some points on the board. Matt, I don't know whether they will stay up or not, but it's a great start for them. And those points on the board at the start of the season will become vital towards the end of it.
Yeah, I think their start has been superb. I know me and Simon spoke before, and they had maybe a slightly easier start than some of the other promoted sides, and they beat sides that they maybe should have been beating or should have been getting points off, but to beat Forest, they've got Man United at the weekend. You wouldn't rule out a victory there. Sunderland are on a roll, as you said, Martin, and Man United are struggling, and maybe we could see Sunderland get out the bottom three market, and we've had them there all year as one of the favourites to be relegated, and I think they've made a hell of a start to the season.
Are you having your centre forward? Because I think if it had been a bit more clinical on Saturday, then you could have gotten a result. And he's going to be a key component, isn't he, Cal? I mean, to put his handbag down for one moment, he can play.
Oh, not again. Who are you talking about? Calvert-Lewin?
Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
He missed some sitters, didn't he? He missed a sitter in the first minute, and he missed the header.
Yeah, he did. He probably should have scored with the first move of the game, shouldn't he?
That's it. That's my point.
I actually think the hardest chance that he's had all season is the one he scored against Wolves last week. The header against Wolves, thought was really difficult, but I think 3 or 4 chances against Bournemouth. He should be netting at least one of them. I'm not saying one chance, one goal. He's not.
But it was interesting what Ariola said about your lot, wasn't it? He said that what Leeds did to Bournemouth, what Bournemouth normally do to the opposition, which is out physical them.
They've signed some big lads over the summer. The German lad Anton Stack is 6.5 foot, big physical lad. Sean Longstaff not scared of putting his head in.
All right, let's move on from Leeds, shall we?
I'm still trying to work out who Ariola is, but anyway,
is there?
We've had Lopetegui as well, haven't we? So where are we going tonight then? It's live in talkSPORT. It was well meant. Everton against West Ham, live in talkSPORT. So it's a talkSPORT exclusive. What are you thinking, Matt?
Well, Everton are obviously odds on to win. West Ham's start to the season hasn't been too strong. They're 7-10 at home, 11-4 the draw, 21-5 for West Ham to go away and win. How can Nuno have any effect on this game? What does he do? Martin, you've obviously been a new manager taking over a new side. Simon, you've done your fair share of hiring and firing. They got rid of Graham Potter Friday night, Saturday morning. What can Nuno do to this side to go and try and get something at West Ham? Definitely against the odds as we've got it.
Head to that little church that used to be near Goodison Park and pray.
It's not that desperate, is it?
It's not great.
You're not having the West Ham players, are you?
No,
They're not good enough.
Listen, the Bowen is a terrific footballer, and they lost Kudos as well too. So they lose a big part of the side in terms of attacking. and they've got some decent players, but the overall strength of the side is not good enough. Not good enough defensively, and that is a major problem when you're playing in the Premier League. If you're not good enough, and if you're not good enough defensively and don't score enough goals at the other end, then you've got a problem.
Is it such a thing as new manager bounce tonight?
It could be. It could happen. That's right. It could happen. That I don't know. But
Everton are not great, though, are they?
Everton are not great.
I realise we have to acclaim every single assist that Jack Grealish does now, but I mean they're not that great either, are they? Everton?
No, they got beaten by Wolves midweek in the League Cup, and that would have been a disappointment for them.
Yeah.
Because it's a competition that you would want to try and progress in. But Everton at home.
So Matt, are you thinking about MGM there'll be goals in this tonight? What are you thinking?
I don't know. I think Everton struggle with the number 9. They've not landed on, is it Beto or Barry to keep sort of rotating and subbing around the sort of hour mark for those guys. So I don't necessarily think it'll be an absolute goal fest, but we've certainly got Everton as favourites, and I don't know how much Nuno can do in 48 hours in charge of West Ham to try and go there and get something, because I know I've not been to the Hill Dickinson yet, but by all accounts it's the atmosphere's really decent, and Everton will be bang up for it tonight. So I can't see anything else than Everton win, really.
Okay, Matt, thank you very much indeed. Remember, you can visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Now, Simon, don't jump in right away, but is there such a thing as a swing weekend? I mean, in the title race. We'll get to that next. You might be interested to hear about these podcasts we can offer at the moment. The latest episode of the 21 Minutes to Go podcast with Andy Goldstein, Jason Cundy is out now. If you haven't already, go check it. 21 Minutes to Go with Goldstein and Cundy, available on your favourite podcast provider. And what about Men in Black? Catch the latest episode of the Men in Black podcast as Sam Matterface and former Premier League referee Chris Foy cast their eye over the weekend's biggest refereeing debates. Find it all on the Premier League All Access podcast feed or the talkSPORT YouTube channel. You don't want to miss that. We are quite sure that Arsenal fans this morning, the ones who made the trip to the Northeast, are very glad that they did, because they didn't want to miss what was witnessed at the end of that game. So Newcastle seemingly in the driving seat. And then Arsenal came back. A late winner against Liverpool versus a late winner for Arsenal. I mean, how fine are the margins going to be between regret, missed opportunities and statement results in this title race? This was Arteta post-match.
I think we discussed to go to the next level. First of all, you have to learn from the past, and certainly we take some lessons and very different and sore moments in this ground. And today was an opportunity that the game brings you again in a really important week in the Premier League, after all the tough places that we already been very early in the season, to show who we are, who do we want to be, our ambition, and the way that we want to play. And I think the team has done that today in a remarkable way.
So Arsenal left with the points. Martin O'Neill alongside Simon and myself this morning. I mean, 32 games to go, Martin. And yet, in some quarters, this was being billed as a swing weekend. Was it even this early?
I don't see it like that at all. I think it was an opportunity for Arsenal to get some points after Liverpool had been beaten the previous day. But heading to Newcastle and getting all 3 points, that's pretty difficult. They got it eventually. They got it in the last few minutes of the game. And it's a great result for them. Terrific result for them. But it's far too early to call that. Although, having said this, the two sides are very evenly matched. They've got the squads. They've got the ability to soak in injuries and things like this here. And I think that it'll be a big contest between the two of them.
I mean, last week, Martin, the critics were out in force about caution surrounding Arteta and Arsenal. Did he respond, do you think? Is he in at number 10?
Well, I'm not an apologist here for Arteta. Far from it. But I thought that I can't see these things. I can't see the talking about caution. This started, didn't it not, a couple of weeks ago when they were up at Liverpool and talking about caution. There's a tactical ploy to try and win a game of football. Arsenal they've got strength and depth. They've got really good players, and they can score goals from set pieces. You've got a fair chance of that, and defensively they're pretty strong. So they've got a really good team. I don't buy that at all about this caution. As I said to you, I'm not an apologist for him, far from it, but it's not the point. They are a strong side, and they're really good. And this idea about taking caution, if they were playing away at Real Madrid, would you turn around and say if you sat back for 10 or 15 minutes that's a cautionary approach? I don't see it like that.
Did you see it as, in any way, Simon, as any kind of swing weekend? It was being billed as such over the weekend.
No, I think it exhibited Arsenal's well-established credentials. That they are a top side that will be in the mix, and so they should be. They've had 5 years in the making. They've had a significant investment. They filled the holes that apparently they needed to fill. And so they established the credentials of what will be a serious tilt at the Premier League, and so it should be. And it should be something that people would expect of them. I mean, what I watched over the weekend was this unerring understanding that it is very, very difficult, as if it wasn't before, but it's becoming even more difficult to win matches in the Premier League. The teams that are in that Premier League from top to bottom give everybody a game. I mean, you're watching Wolves, play against Tottenham, and Tottenham coming back in the last minute of a game, and Tottenham are in relatively good nick. You're looking at all these sides across you're looking at Palace, who have been outstanding.
It's always been like that.
No, I think it's getting even more difficult. I think the technical ability of the sides and the competitivity in the league, I don't know what you think, Martin.
I think the competitivity is very, very strong.
Is it more difficult now, Martin, to win a game?
They're difficult matches. There's no question about it. You're going away from home, despite what I'm talking about West Ham. It's still difficult to go and win football games. It always has been that there, but I think it's very tight. So that result, if you're saying to me that Arsenal had a God-given right to go to Newcastle and win, I didn't see it like that. Didn't see it like that at all.
I mean, you look at it and you think to yourself, there was a difference between the two sides. Arsenal were the better side. They thoroughly deserved to win. But they had to sweat bullets to get to that point. And so their superiority, which was clear and evident on the field, and I think Eberechi Eze being in the side gave them another dimension. And I think the idea of caution, there's an element of, when they went to Liverpool, there was nothing in that. They were physically better than Liverpool in the first 25, 30 minutes, but there wasn't any creativity. I think that was the question. And it came again when they played the following week. But this Arsenal side had to work to win a game. So being so superior to Newcastle, yet still only managed to eke it out in the last 5 minutes of a game, is the point I'm making about having to win matches. But at such a level now.
Yeah. We're 2 hours in almost, and we've got to mention Palace, and we haven't done so yet. Because they get a result against Liverpool. You know what? That's one thing. 18 games unbeaten in all competition. 18 games for Crystal Palace under Oliver Glasner. And he was asked after that win, where can you take them?
I don't know where our ceiling is. I just know that last year, at the same time, I think I was asked how long I will be the manager for Crystal Palace, because we had the worst start into the Premier League season ever. And I think this year maybe we have the best one or whatever. Last year ended with a points record, so that's why I'm always very humble, and we're always really then very analytic. Yes, we're enjoying this win, we're enjoying this evening. That's why we love football. That's why I'm working in football. But tomorrow we will sit together, analyzing our game. What are we doing really well? What we have to improve? This is just who we are and how we want to be, and then it's always about daily work.
Glasner. And this ceiling,
well, when people talk about ceilings, inevitably bump their head against them, don't they? When we heard Postecoglou a couple of years ago saying, I don't talk about ceilings, mate.
Yeah.
And he put Tottenham at the bottom.
What was he, Welsh?
Yeah, he was a Welsh Australian.
Okay.
But I like Glasner. With all due respect to the departed, I actually said to Daniel about him during the summer, why not Glasner? His own views on it. But I think he's a top manager. Do I think he'll be Palace manager at the end of the season? I'll be bloody amazed, because he's got nothing left on his contract now. This is his last year. He hasn't been given the support, yet he's working the Oracle. I mean, they're taking their best players out, repeatedly taking their best players out. Not unfortunately for Palace, which is the great thing, they're not taking them out. These clubs are having to bloody pay for them now. That's the good thing about it, is that Eze went for top money, Elise went for decent money, and people are having to pay for it, and Guehi didn't walk out the door. But they are operating at their highest level. And it's like Nottingham Forest last year. Palace their run of form as a unit, as a team, is fabulous. Look at the teams that they're beating. Look at the results that they're getting. And they've got a European competition, so we'll see how that plays out with the strength of their squad.
Yeah, Martin, can you imagine if they'd given Glasner funds, and I mean decent funds, to strengthen?
No guarantee there.
Well, no, there isn't any guarantee there. I think because the players are playing at the top of their game now at this minute, and there's a lot of confidence about the side, primarily because of this run that they're on.
What do you think of this guy and what he's doing?
It's very difficult not to be impressed by him. Difficult not to be impressed. You're talking about Crystal Palace, sitting beside a man who owned the football club. It's a great football club.
It is.
No question about it. But it has a ceiling, like everything else. Whether it's got a financial ceiling.
Indeed.
And this is the problem with it. So how far can he take the football club? Well, he's taken it to great heights. They've won the FA Cup. They've gone and they've smashed Liverpool, as Simon said. Yeah. Absolutely smashed them. Yeah. They could have been 4-0 up. Yeah. I think even Slot said this. They could have been 4-0 up before Liverpool get started. So it's been a terrific effort. There's a really great feel-good factor about Crystal Palace now at this minute. And Glasner is the top of anybody's. He's absolutely. And he's at the top of any wanted list at the minute.
The problem is, and I don't want to be a doomsday merchant or a doom scroller, is that where it's taking somebody is Glasner into someone else's dugout. That's where it's taking Crystal Palace, because this level of attainment, this level of achievement, winning an FA Cup, competing in Europe, beating sides, irrespective, Palace are not going to finish sixth in the league this year. They'll finish high up the table.
Is he a top four manager?
you can't find that out until you put someone in a top 4 job. And a top 4 job has a different set of criteria attached to it because it happens normally tends to be of a legacy football club with a much heavier shirt, right, to wear. But he has all the credentials and all the qualities to look like he could be one, doesn't he?
He's a winner, Martin.
Absolutely. He's. Did you say is he a top 4 manager, or are you talking about taking Crystal Palace into the top 4? That would be very, very difficult. Very difficult. But is he a
top 4 manager?
Is he a top class manager? Absolutely.
He's a big occasion character, isn't he?
He's great.
He wins the FA Cup. Eintracht Frankfurt beat Rangers in that UEFA Cup final.
I'll get back to the point. He's winning football matches, and he's winning sometimes against the odds, and that makes a good manager. When you're winning against the odds, and he's been doing that. He's taken a team. They've won an FA Cup final. That gives you. Well, first of all, it gives you great self-confidence. And as Sir Alex Ferguson used to say, winning a competition gives you power. And he's got power there. He didn't, as Simon mentioned the last time I was on the programme here, he didn't get the funds last year. He was entitled to get something this year. He's performing well and truly above his remit.
I wonder if he'll go on and they'll win the Europa Conference League trophy. That'd be something, wouldn't it? Even though you two totally dismiss the trophy.
The trophy's not
as a competition.
It's not, but still, while you're in it, go and win it.
We didn't want to be in it. We weren't in it, were we? Didn't qualify for that tournament, did we?
No,
we qualified for the Europa League.
But you'll give it kudos when they win it.
Well, we'll take what you're given, don't you?
That's true. It's 12 noon. Lot to get through in the final hour. Stay with us.
To get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 2 minutes past 12, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. 2016 Ryder Cup veteran Danny Willits told talkSPORT there's no one he'd rather have take the putt to secure the trophy than Shane Lowry.
You know, knowing what Shane's done, obviously winning the Open and World Golf Championships, probably one of our coolest customers under pressure, I'd say. He's obviously got that jovial side about him, but when he means business, Shane's brilliant.
Team Europe held off an awesome American fight back in the singles for the first away win since 2012. 2016 player Chris Wood told White and Jordan Bethpage Black really highlighted Europe as a team and USA as individuals.
The first 2 days, you're obviously out in twos and you feel very much a team. When you get to Sunday and you go out and play your singles match, all of a sudden you feel quite exposed.
There's loads more reaction on talkSPORT's Golf YouTube channel. Dominic Solanke's missed Spurs training ahead of the trip to play Bodo Glimt. Solanke's recently had ankle problems. Mikel Merino says Arsenal are ready for a title battle after their late win over Newcastle. Arsenal's next game at home to Olympiacos in the Champions League is live on talkSPORT on Wednesday night. Forest fans are told not to panic about Ange Postecoglou going without a win in his first 5 games. Nigel Clough says the man needs more than 4 weeks before we start judging.
I think they played quite well against Sunderland and just didn't get a break or just didn't finish a chance that they'd finished last year. I think Chris Wood had a couple that last year he was putting in with his eyes closed, and now all of a sudden, you know, he's missed 1 or 2, and that could be the difference in the game.
Forest versus Midtjylland in the Europa League is live on talkSPORT 2 on Thursday evening, and we understand Enzo Maresca has the backing of Chelsea's board following defeats to Bayern, Man United and Brighton. There's more on this at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The Conservatives say the Prime Minister's smeared those who want border controls by calling policies racist, and GPs are considering taking action over plans to make appointments bookable online. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Buy 2 or more Bridgestone Turanza all-season 6 tyres and claim Bridgestone's massive 20,000 mileage guarantee. Visit quickfit.com and book today. Conditions apply.
Fine day for most of us, with plenty of sunshine, cloudier in the northwest and in western Scotland where there's outbreaks of rain and brisk winds.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. Alongside us, Martin O'Neill. We're with you all the way through until 1 o'clock. If you want to watch a show, you can, of course, in a whole different variety of ways. We're live in talkSPORT, but we're also live on Apple TV, Chromecast, Prime Video, that and a whole lot more. We are here for you. Whatever you want to watch, you can watch this show weekdays between 10 and 1 live in talkSPORT. Courtesy of Selco's, where the trade goes. As I said, Martin alongside Simon. We want to look at this on a very serious note. UEFA planning to hold an emergency executive committee this week to vote on banning Israel from European football competition. Now, a UEFA ban would effectively mean that Israel cannot qualify for next year's World Cup because, although, of course, it's a FIFA tournament, UEFA runs the European qualifying competition. The UN last week called for the suspension of Israel from international competition due to what it described as, quote, an unfolding genocide in Gaza, an allegation that Israel denies. Israel's in the middle of its 2026 World Cup qualifying campaign. Right now, they're third in their group. Their next match is against Erling Haaland's Norway on October the 11th, and that is a qualifier. But the question remains, should individuals such as the individual players in the Israeli team and teams themselves be punished for the actions of their government? My colleague Rob Harris, Sky News sports correspondent, is live with us. Rob, good morning, or good afternoon, I should say to you, Rob. Where is this going? Where is it likely to go?
Well, things have certainly escalated in the last week or so. I started to hear at the start of the last week there were high-level talks at UEFA about the prospect of banning Israeli teams from their competitions. And through the week, it had picked up a certain momentum. Now, interesting, you mentioned some of those UN calls for Israel's boycott. They came from the rapporteurs, their special independent advisors on things like human rights and cultural rights, calling for that ban. And it coincided with this UN Commission of Inquiry saying that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, something that Israel does deny. So something's clearly at play in terms of moves that we hadn't seen in the 2 years of this conflict to exclude Israeli teams as a result of the death toll in Gaza.
What is Trump's stance in this? Because we know that Trump has made certain comments in recent days. He's believed to have warned Infantino, FIFA's president, against any move to ban Israel. So that might put Trump and Infantino, who in recent times seem to be the best of chums, on something of a collision course.
Yes, I learnt last week that Donald Trump would intervene if there was an attempt to ban Israel from international football. It'd be a very notable decision to exclude and isolate Israel culturally. It hasn't happened at all in this way. And when I contacted the State Department, they did say they would work to prevent this ban happening, of course, with the World Cup largely taking place in the United States. But how will that act in terms of that Trump-Infantino relationship? There's so much politics here at play. They're very close, Donald Trump and Gianni Infantino. And against the backdrop of all this, Donald Trump saying that he might be close to some sort of peace deal. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is due at the White House today, and that could have a big influence in all this as well.
Simon, yet again, sport and politics in a collision course. Yep. I mean, I'll ask you the question, should individuals and teams be punished for the actions of the government?
I think we have to be careful who determines and arbitrates which atrocities and which challenges around the world are to be adjudicated in which particular way. I mean, anybody in their right mind likes to see the harrowing images of the stuff that's happening in Gaza any more than they like to see the harrowing and disturbing images of what happened on October the 7th. There is a difference between what happened between the Russian situation and the Israeli situation. Russia were an aggressor into a sovereign country. So there are slight differences, and I know people will shout at the screen and have their own view about this. I am very disinclined to see the politicians anywhere near this. I mean, Trump will take his position because, you know, he's talking about the nature of the relationship between Israel and the Palestinians and how he believes he's going to broker peace anyway. But he has been behind and supportive of the Israelis, so of course he's going to sit there and not be comfortable with this being foisted upon the Israelis in the same way that they were talking about the Eurovision Song Contest, at the same way, because they know how culturally important that is to the Israeli population, and they're talking about them being excluded from that. I don't know the order of events, how UEFA can upscale it to dictate to FIFA, because it's FIFA's tournaments. I understand that UEFA's contributors come in, but I imagine FIFA are still the governing position, full stop. I think Trump is the most powerful person in the world, and I think Infantino is a sycophant. So he will do, and bear in mind where this particular tournament is being held, I think Trump will have a position to play. But we know that the wind changes, the world changes, and these things, shouldn't be about the sporting landscape, because whilst I understand that geopolitics have so much intertwined with sport now, because you've got nation states buying football clubs to create influence, my gut feel tells me that this should not be a political decision, and that the Israel team, but the challenge then is, of course, what happens amongst social disorder, amongst other things that Trump will consider into the factor, which is civil disorder in his country, about people that are very uncomfortable with the Israeli team playing there if it isn't resolved.
Well, I mean, the question that has to be asked as well, Israel in one hand, but Rob, has there not a precedent not been set regards Russia?
And I've started to increasingly hear from within UEFA that they are trying to balance up how can Russia be suspended in terms of its teams, but Israel not. Now, they have repeatedly said at UEFA that these wars started very differently. An unprovoked attack by Russia on Ukraine in 2022. Israel saying it's responding to the October 7th attacks by Hamas on its soil in 2023. It's obviously as things have unfolded since then with the war that have put things into sharp perspective at UEFA, where they're seeing the casualties, including footballers in Gaza, that have caused an increasingly problematic situation. Interestingly, at the weekend, the International Paralympic Committee decided to lift its suspension of both Russia and Belarus that had been in place since the start of the war. And the International Olympic Committee, well, they've said they're not going to ban Israel from the Winter Games next year, but currently the ban on Russia as a team is in place, although Russians can compete as neutrals.
Yeah. I mean, do we have any idea, Rob, this emergency executive committee that's meeting this week at UEFA, voting as to whether or not to ban Israel? Do we have any idea further to that regards timescale? Because time is kicking on. Israel due to be in action again on October 11 against Norway.
Yes, no word yet when this meeting will take place. Things could really be determined by what happens with this wider peace move by Trump. If something does somehow bring an end to this war, then obviously that would have an impact on what football does. Maccabi Tel Aviv are back in action in the Europa League on Thursday. Now, they're playing Dinamo Zagreb. There is a big issue in terms of the Aston Villa game. They're hosting Maccabi Tel Aviv in early November, calls some local MP for that game not to go ahead. He's raising safety challenges at the same time. What would happen in terms of visiting Israeli fans there? And safety has been quite an issue. One of the reasons that UEFA banned Russia is saying, in part, that there was no country in Europe willing to host their games on neutral territory. And also there were safety issues potentially around these matches going ahead. So, yeah, we're waiting to see just what UEFA might do. Those international games, the World Cup qualifiers, one's against Norway in Norway. Norway are the team that are perhaps most problematic in terms of not wanting to play Israel. They've said they'll donate the funds of the match to causes in Gaza. And then the other one is against Italy. And we've had the Italian Coaches Association say that they don't think Israel should be playing in international football. But there will be political moves at play as well in terms of how national governments act. We've only heard from the Spanish Prime Minister. He said Israel should be banned from sport. And the Turkish FA, I believe, are the only European FA to go public in saying that Israel should be banned from football. That came on Friday.
If they were to ban them, Rob, as they are mid-World Cup qualifying campaign, can they appeal it?
Yeah, it goes to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and that's ultimately why, if there is to be a ban in place, it has to stand up there. I mentioned when Russia was banned, that went to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and then we discovered some of the reasonings why, a bit like no country was willing to host their matches and safety issues, integrity issues, and teams were refusing to play Russian opposition. That hasn't happened publicly, although I'm increasingly hearing that clubs and teams are approaching UEFA, indicating that they don't want to be playing Israeli opposition. But while there is a growing sense from within the UEFA Exco and amongst FAs that Israel should be excluded, that's not a unanimous position across Europe.
Rob Harris, Sky News sports correspondent. Thanks as always, Rob, for joining us. They're up against it with time, are they not, Simon? They're due to play Norway on October the 11th.
I mean, again, I make the point about arbiters. You know, no one seemed to have a problem with Saudi Arabia playing in the World Cup when they were carpet bombing Yemen. So there's this attitude and outlook that one set of atrocities is more balanced than another. And nobody wants atrocities in the world. Nobody wants to see the images that we're seeing. But for sport to delve its toe into it and try and make sense of the things that the rest of the world can't make sense, and the politicians will just make hay of the populism of their own view. And those campaigners from and playing in Birmingham, because if it was said about their particular ethnicity or their particular belief system, you can believe they'd be screaming racism.
So UEFA, as we said, planning to hold this emergency executive committee meeting this week to vote on whether or not to ban Israel. We'll be across it because that game fast approaching against the Norwegians. It's 12:15. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com. Martin O'Neill alongside Simon and myself this Monday lunchtime. Where do we go with Manchester United? Manchester United, what are we witnessing at the moment? They lose 3-1 at Brentford, the 12:30 kick-off Saturday lunchtime. Ruben Amorim oversaw his 17th defeat in 33 Premier League matches, losing 3-1 at Brentford. The last time Manchester United won back-to-back league matches was May 2024. Amorim, post-match.
We talk about this every time our team lose. We need to work on a lot of things. And again, today, my biggest concern is we didn't settle along the game. In the final third, we missed a lot of crosses. We suffer goals in transition that we knew during the week and work on that. So that is the things that we need to improve.
Martin, does that statistic amaze you? Because it amazed me. Back-to-back league matches. The last time Manchester United won back-to-back matches, May 2024. What are we witnessing? Are they incapable? Is he incapable of producing momentum?
Well, those stats would be worrying for any club, let alone Manchester United. They are damaging, I must admit. And I preface everything by saying this. You know, managers, we're in the game. We have to win football matches. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. And Manchester United are not winning enough games. It's really as simple as that. Not just not winning enough games, they're losing a lot of matches. And they're losing matches so easily. You know, it seems as if, you know, they can go through a 10 or 15 minute period where they've got some possession of the ball and things are looking okay. I noticed their opening game of the season at Old Trafford looked as if there was the manager bought a couple of attacking players, which was great. So was that the case of where they're just going to outscore teams? But they're not doing that now. They're not capable of doing that. They lost to Brentford, and it's not a surprise. That's the problem with it.
That is the problem, isn't it, Simon? It's no longer a surprise when Manchester United go anywhere and lose, because you half expect it.
Yeah, but you want your captain to step up and take bloody penalties and score them every now and again, don't you? Rather than going on this drought of penalties that he seems to be on now, where he misses them, that doesn't help the cause. Yeah, I mean, United are a long way away from the finished article. No one can quite work out in this room, or I think in many rooms, besides the rooms at Carrington and Old Trafford, why Ruben Amorim seems to be given special dispensation that no other manager in football seems to be given, which is come in, make it worse. And make it worse and keep on making it worse and spend lots of our money whilst making it worse, and then tell everybody why you're making it worse, and ultimately you're not going to pivot from that, and a crowd cheer you. That is a wonderful formula. Every manager in the world must want to alight upon that alchemy, because that means actually just turn up and get paid for doing nothing.
He's not wrong, Martin, is he? That is not wrong. The way Simon has summed that up there.
No, he's definitely got a point. You step into a football job. There's none of this idea now that you can get time. You don't get any time, and you certainly don't get time at a club like Manchester United. So the results have been very poor, and I think Amorim has admitted that. And the problem with it all is the fact that you can actually be really likeable, and Amorim has. I think the crowd have definitely taken to him in many aspects because of his interviews. I think you have to take to somebody because they win football matches.
Yeah, I mean, it's an old saying, isn't it? BS baffles brains. But I don't even think he's doing that. I mean, you look at it and say, had the Man United fans been beaten down to such a worn-down nub that they're going to accept, you know, maybe a first-half performance or a good game every other week? Because really and truly, this is not an ocean liner. It might be a difficult football club to run, but notwithstanding it, it's not an ocean liner. It can turn. And 10 months, 11 months into it, you have to look at the reality, and you have to be sensible and pragmatic. We all have our beliefs in life. We all have our principles. And what happens when you die, they die with you. You've got to win football matches. And if you can't win football matches playing a certain way, you win football matches winning another way until you can play the way you want to play. I suppose the only argument against that is what Pep Guardiola did when he came in 2016, which was, I'm going to play the way I want to play, and I'm going to keep on playing the way I want to actually achieve something.
Yeah, but he also had what shall I say? He had a lot of, a good time. In fact, he was brilliant at Barcelona. He'd got some great players that are there if he was able to implement the play he wanted. The
he rocked into City in the first season and finished third, didn't he?
Yeah.
He took a side that was becoming quite significant in English football and turned it into a side that finished third. And everyone said, you can't play this way.
Yeah.
And he persisted with it, didn't he?
Martin, you know how to manage at the highest level. If you took a Manchester United to Brentford at the weekend there, with players like De Ligt, Maguire, Shaw, Bruno Fernandes, Matthias Cunha, Dalot, would you be kind of confident you're coming away with the points?
You'd be expected to win the game. Manchester United should be expected to go and win at places like
Would
Brentford.
you back yourself to manage them to beat Brentford?
Oh, well, that's you're putting me right in the spot here. I mean, we said, about 15, 20 minutes ago that winning football matches is difficult, but you would be expected to win. You'd be expected to win the game because Manchester United, over a period of Sir Alex Ferguson, would be expected to win football games. And with some of the players that you mentioned there, I would be happy to be with, and with some of the players you mentioned as well, I would be not that happy to be with. You know,
we understand, Simon. I mean, any decision on Amorim likely not to be taken until after November the 1st to reduce the level of compensation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's going to be the biggest concern, which is how much money they're spending money like drunken sailors anyway. I mean, apparently this time last year they didn't have any money, which was absolute nonsense, because we all know that they did and actually should have been pulled up by the New York Stock Exchange for making that sort of announcement. You look at it and say, well, despite all of this, Mbeumo wanted to leave Brentford to go to Man United, so they've still got the draw on the pool factor, and they've got to get themselves together. And the manager's got to get himself together. You know, whether there's truth in some of the things that you hear, that he tendered his resignation, which is not good. If that is true, if there's any scintilla of indication that's true, that what was said and heard and repeated in this, I think someone in the studio said it to us that they'd heard it, then you've already got your die cast.
Yeah.
He's going to fail.
Does he look defeated to you, Martin, every time you hear him?
Well, I don't know the person. I think that some of the comments he's made afterwards, you know, particularly after the game against Grimsby, they'd be disconcerting. It'd be disconcerting.
It would be wrong not to mention Brentford, who won it under Martin's old pal Keith Andrews, because he worked with you, didn't he? With the Republic of Ireland.
No, he didn't work with me.
Didn't?
No, he was.
He worked in the media.
He worked in the media
at that
against
time, observing what you were doing with the
So
Republic.
were you pleased for him on the weekend?
Were you pleased for him, Martin?
First of all, let me put this in context. No, he was scathing on my tenure at the Republic of Ireland, even though we actually qualified for the Euros in 2016, the last time they've actually qualified for a competition. And then proceeds to play in the manner in which he was criticising. You know, the long throw. That's.
Did you write him a little note wishing him well?
Very innovative. However, it was a great result, regardless of how poor Manchester United were. It's still a great result for him. And it's like everything else, you start to learn how difficult the job is. It's a difficult job managing. It's a difficult job managing in any league, particularly in the Premier League. So it is a really good result. So well done him for winning the game. It's really important for him. But he's a young manager, and he will learn.
It's understood here, Simon, Sir Gareth Southgate is an option for Manchester United if they decide to part with Amorim. Could you see it? If Amorim goes, can you see Gareth walking through the front door?
Can I justify it?
Yeah.
Well, quite frankly, I could justify Elmer Fudd being willed in there right now if Man United want to do that in terms of the current run of results that they've got. Do I think Gareth Southgate takes you where you want to go? No, I don't. That's not because I dislike Gareth. That's not because I don't think he did a relatively decent job at England. I just don't think that Gareth Southgate fills the gap any more than Ruben Amorim fills the gap. The question is, who does? So we've heard this indexing before. We've heard it being suggested that Jim Ratcliffe has had a particular fancy for Gareth Southgate. Well, not right. Besides the fact he's a brilliant, brilliant businessman, with no doubt about that on any level, I'm not so sure he's a brilliant football operator right now. So what Jim Ratcliffe, and he's got rid of the other bluffer, isn't he? David Brailsford, he's been shipped out, found out.
In your opinion?
Oh, a lot of people's
been... Do you think they know what they're going to do? Do you think Sir Jim and the rest of them know the direction they're going to go in with Amorim?
Well, no. Or when you say no, I think the question is, are planning to go in a direction, hoping that the people that they're buying and recruiting and the culture that they're introducing to the football club and the manager is going to take them where they think they should be, which is back amongst the elite. Because eventually, this idea that Man United can keep trading on their currency of generation after generation will be eclipsed by other teams like Man City keep on winning, and the next generation of fans will forget the Busby Babes, will forget George Best, will forget the Holy Trinity, and they'll be focusing on the team that wins now, which is Man City.
You hold them in high regard, I know you do, United. Would you keep him or sack him?
I'd have to be closer to the person and understand what it is the hell's going on. What it is going on in this man's mind. A, makes him say things to the media like, I think this is the worst thing I've ever seen, and then tell people that he was too young to have said it in the first place. You're 41 years of age, you're not a kid. You're managing the biggest football club in the world. Don't tell that sort of crap in front of the media.
Yeah, but you weren't close to Ollie, but you told him to get his coat.
Because I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer I watched him over a period of time. I think he was an unavoidable mistake in the first place. They gave him the job because of a win against PSG, and I think the standards of Man United deteriorated under the fact that his management was laissez-faire and lackadaisical.
They finished second.
I don't care. The deterioration has been significant as a result.
12:30 just gone. We're live in talkSPORT.
Opportunity to do the greatest thing I've ever done today, and I did it.
Shane Lowry's heroics on 18 retained the cup for Europe. Tyrrell Hatton in the penultimate game sealed the win. It's the first on foreign soil in 13 years, and Luke Donald becomes the first captain to win home and away since Tony Jacklin in 1987. So go on then, Luke, what's the secret?
This wasn't an impossible task. We knew it was going to be difficult, but you want to inspire them to know that it can be done. My job again is to give them the reasons to make them believe that they can win.
Just as there were after victory in Rome, chants of 2 more years were heard through the night in New York. There's more reaction on the talkSPORT Golf YouTube channel. In the Premier League, Arsenal are just 2 points behind Liverpool after Gabriel's late winner over Newcastle, while Villa came from behind to beat Fulham, claiming their first win of the season. But we're talking yet again about another chastening weekend for Ruben Amorim and Manchester United, who lost 3-1 at Brentford. Amorim said afterwards he's not concerned about job security, but talkSPORT's Alex Crook isn't a fan of that.
I think that's a little bit arrogant from Ruben Amorim to say that he's not concerned about his position, having picked up so few wins, so few points.
Get more fallout from the weekend at talksport.com.
It is Monday lunchtime. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin O'Neill. We're live in talkSPORT, live in your telly as well, even on Prime Video. You can find us wherever you look these days, it would seem, and many of you are doing that. We're delighted about that. Martin O'Neill with us, of course, and he knows what it's like to manage big clubs on big occasions. And one big club, of course, is the club that Ange Postecoglou finds himself at these days, Nottingham Forest. A club, of course, Martin O'Neill played for with distinction, it has to be said. But Nottingham Forest are up against it at the moment. Forest faced defeat again at home to Sunderland, leaving Ange without a win in his first 5. Going to get Martin's take on that and a few other things in a second, but this was Ange on that.
You kind of hope that the players have got the right mindset and they've got clear heads. So there's a lot that's happened, obviously, in the last sort of 3.5 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it's been. And, I've been really stressing to the lads that we can't sort of dwell on whatever changes we're making. And to be fair to them, I think the football shows that they've embraced what we're trying to do. It's not like I'm sitting there going, well, we're not really playing the way I want to. It's just that, like I said, we're not turning our dominance into victories, and we have to win games of football. That's why we play like the way we want, the way I want us to. And from my perspective, it's up to me now to sort of unlock that last bit so that we can start turning whatever dominance we have into wins.
Martin, Postecoglou is trying to change the way they play, but what is more important? Stamping your identity on your new team or winning?
Well, you've got to win to stamp your identity on a team. It's really as simple as that. You've got to win. And I kind of know what he's going through because I went to Leicester City, and I don't think that I was a really popular choice at that particular time. Maybe the connection with Nottingham Forest as a player might have had something to do with it, and Leicester being pretty well neighbourly in that sense. But I went there, couldn't win a game to save my life, and he's talking about 5 games. I went double that, 10 games. I know there were a couple of FA Cup matches and draws against Manchester City and a hammering in the replay, and the crowd became very restless, and really, and shouts of O'Neill out. That was bad enough coming from the crowd, but when it was coming from my family, it was really a problem. And so trying to turn that round was really difficult, and managed to do it. Get a little bit of luck. Won 2 games in London when we'd been booed off the pitch at Filbert Street at the time. So I know exactly what he's going through, and it's frustrating because if you're following a manager who, through results, became popular. Like Nuno stepped in there because Cooper had been very popular before that, so Nuno had to win that crowd over. He did do. There was massive disappointment from Mr. Marinakis when they didn't qualify for the Champions League, so maybe that's where they're expecting to go. I don't see it at this minute, but even so, I can understand how frustrating it is not to get that result.
He's got to get it soon. Does he get it against Midtjylland in the Europa League on Thursday night? Do they go to Newcastle next weekend and get it?
Well, the longer it goes on, the more frustrating it gets. And of course...
How desperate did you become, Martin? Did you think, have I lost a knack here?
Yeah, of course. You do think that, and I was, I spent most of my time blaming everybody else. So, and eventually, I know it's down to you. You have to win football matches. But I knew that anyway at the time. And when you're losing games, and we lost to Sheffield United, and at Filbert Street, and it was pretty costly, really, in many aspects. And then I go on there was a phone-in on the Monday night. So I decided to brave it up and go on the Monday night phone-in. I know it was only around the local thing, I'm getting loads of abuse there. And and we had a game on the Tuesday. We won down at Charlton Athletic on the Tuesday and went back to London again on the Saturday, won against Crystal Palace 1-0, where Crystal Palace could have beaten us about 8. And we won the games. And those little bits of luck, and you turn it and you get it. And finally, we actually got promotion through the playoffs that particular season. So it was terrific for us, but it is hard to endure.
I mean, Are you seeing what he's trying to do it for us? Or is it just a question of that little bit of luck? We'll get that and that'll change.
With respect, I think that's early. I think that's really early. Well, I think there's a lot of prejudging here. We know exactly what sort of style Ange wants to play, and that was a different style to Nuno, so that's fine. So people are looking for these things. I think there is a point at Nottingham Forest where, believe it or not, they had very little possession last year, yet were able to eke out some phenomenal results, leading into a position where they could get into the Champions League. Now they have more; they're getting more possession, and you almost feel as if, well, what do we do with this possession? Because they had a lot of pace. Alanga particularly had a lot of pace last year, where they could break on teams from their own edge of their own penalty area. Now they've actually got the possession. And the game the other day that I watched them play in, it was a feeling as, well, we've got this possession. Where do we go from here? We're not able to break the teams down because there's a lot of bodies in front of us now.
I mean, I thought Forest were brilliant against Seville in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were on a different level. Betis in Seville. Yeah. And I think the loss of Douglas Luiz lost the direction of travel in the game. Yeah. It's interesting. I was with a friend of mine, I'd like to say well-heeled Nottingham Forest fan, but he's not. He's a journalist, so he can't possibly be. But
he's a friend.
He was talking about the atmosphere inside the City ground is almost like a feeling of mourning from the City fans about the loss of Nuno Espirito Santo, in terms of it's one of the worst atmosphere he's seen for some time. There's a real quietness, because I always thought the City ground was a very vociferous place, and whenever I went there with Palace, it was always like, wow, it reminds you what this football club has achieved in the past because of the scale of the support from its fans. I think Postecoglou will be fine, but it depends what fine looks like in Marinakos' eyes.
Well, that's the thing.
I believe that Marinakos really fancies winning the Europa League. Ultimately see the window of opportunity in the Europa League. Where does the Europa League win? The Champions League. Marinakos gets to write all his checks in once then, doesn't he? He's achieved what he wanted to achieve by getting them into the Premier League, putting them as a meaningful side, winning a European competition and landing in the Champions League. And then he'd have to put himself in a blind trust, won't he? Because Olympiacos will be there too. So he gets around that one. But I think that Postecoglou is an interesting conundrum, because I've gone from I like him as a bloke, no doubt about it. He's an engaging person. I think he says silly things in press conferences that come back and haunt him. But again, I suppose everybody does, because if you say enough things, eventually something's going to be said that people are going to be able to take exception to. I don't know what he can do with this Forest side to achieve Marinakos' aims, because I think the key issue is not whether he wins his first 5 games or he loses his first 5 games. It's whether he meets the expectations of this owner against what this owner's expectations actually are.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
And you know this owner.
And I know this owner.
You're asking for him live on talkSPORT? Well, let's not go there. Unai Emery, Aston Villa got their first Premier League win of the season. I mean, last week, Mark, we heard Emery talking about lazy this, they're lazy in this area, that area. Maybe those remarks struck a chord, and it was the right one.
Well, you can draw that conclusion from the fact that they go on and win the game. And there were a couple of times where they could have been maybe 2-0 behind against Fulham. But the winning of the game is the most important thing. They've got off the mark now. They've got some points in. And anyway, I've got a lot of time for the manager. And at this minute, I think he can say those comments because he knows he's got plenty in the tank, in the sense of, what a great season last year or before that. And we're a referee's indecision away from from being in the Champions League.
Yeah.
But there'll be a lot of frustration around Villa Park because of the standards that they've set, and they're not meeting those.
The big surprise this lunchtime is that you've got a pal who's in the media.
It's a surprise to me.
And does. Quarter to 1 this Monday lunchtime. Tony is one of many. Really enjoyed your show today with Simon, but particularly as Martin O'Neill is on with you. Well, Martin is still with us, and we've got another few minutes with Martin O'Neill in our company, but you're not wrong, Tony. Many of you saying the same thing. Martin has been with us this morning. It's good to have you on. The same Martin O'Neill is asked to do interviews for other outlets, such as The Guardian. And you spoke the other day, Martin, it was interesting. A whole bunch of topics covered on the reliance of data and modern tactical trends. And your interview went viral. There was a lot of reaction to it. On data and modern tactical trends. The expected goals metric is total nonsense. You've got to remember what the game is about, winning football matches. And that means scoring goals, not recording the expectation of them. Expected goals have only come about in the last few years. It's a clueless development. Some people just use these words to try and sound clever. Now, others might say, Martin, that view's a bit outdated, is it not?
Why is it outdated? Why is expected goals and the criticism of expected goals outdated? It's straightforward.
Well, if it's good enough for Pep.
It's expected goals. What do you mean? Why does he agree with that? Does he? Well, if he does, well, then he's not the manager I think he is.
But he and others use data, modern data.
I am not against using data. Data is there for a purpose. There's no doubt at all about it. You can have data. But if you're turning around and relying totally on data without having an eye for a player, then you've got a problem. You've definitely got a problem.
Can you do both?
Right. You can do both. Of course, it's important to do both. You can have data. But getting back to expected goals, you tell me what it means. What does expected goals, and when does it come into the equation of winning or losing a football game?
Why is it expected goals? Why is it clueless?
It's clueless because it doesn't mean anything. The game's about football. It's about winning football matches.
Actually,
what?
It's counterintuitive.
How's it counterintuitive?
Because it means nothing. I mean, what's it based? Do you know what it is? Because
it's not sure how.
Are you agreeing with me?
I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing with you.
Well, then I can be even more vociferous.
That's no feather in your cap, man. But does it not give you a rough idea of what you can expect?
Not at all. Not at all. Absolutely not. Can you imagine? Seriously? Listen, and this, I don't want to sound being an atavist or a Luddite or anything like this here. But at the end of the day, if Brian Clough or Bill Shankly come in at half-time and said, Peter Wood, you've just missed 2 goals, but you know what? You've got an expected thing. He wouldn't even be on in the second half, never mind anything else. It's nonsense. And the very fact that I've mentioned Brian Clough and Bill Shankly will immediately put me back to the dinosaur era. But it's not. It's nothing to do with it.
They are great, huge names who are well respected, but people will counter that, Martin. Into the modern day.
Yeah, of course they will. Absolutely. And I've got 2 daughters who tell me all the time, I live in the past. If I'm watching The Good, the Bad and the Ugly or something like this here in the film that is on at 2:30 in the morning, I'm considered, oh, Dad, come on. It's just because I wanted to be Clint Eastwood, never mind anything else. However...
You've got a bit more Eli Wallach about you.
I've got Eli Wallach. I'm definitely, absolutely.
Wyatt Earp.
So, but what I'm saying to you, it doesn't mean a thing. It does not mean a thing. And I would be astonished if any manager or coach in Europe is actually using expected goals in a team talk just before they would step out onto the field of play.
The expected goals is a construct of broadcast, it's not a construct of football. Right? And have we got a statistic that says how many times expected goals got it right?
Yeah.
Well, there will be an existence because so many clubs
then we'll see how much cobblers it is, right? Because if it gets it wrong 50% of the time, expected goals are absolutely irrelevant. Goals are relevant. What the hell does expected goals mean?
Yeah, well, what does it mean?
When does it get it right?
Also, in this interview in The Guardian, Martin O'Neill on the lack of British managers, you finish off by saying the British manager is all but disappearing.
Well, if you look at it, in terms of stats, what I'm saying to you is please, I don't want to sound jingoistic about this here, but what I'm talking about is that you are now having foreign owners are taking football clubs, so they're immediately taking foreign managers because they feel, and whether this is something that is true or not, they feel as if the British manager is outdated. in the sense that he doesn't believe in the tactical approach. He doesn't believe in expected goals. He doesn't believe in any of these particular things, and that's the point. So you really, from a distance, you are actually hoping that the likes of Eddie Howe and David Moyes, who's proved himself anyway, but Eddie Howe in particular, will be successful because, as I said, the input now is very much foreign owners, foreign managers and foreign agents pushing their foreign managers there first of all.
Are British managers as good as foreign ones? Potter's got incomes.
Has there been a better manager in the last 50 years than Sir Alex Ferguson?
No.
Has there been? Yeah, is that right? Right, okay. No, there we are. Pep Guardiola is a great manager. Yeah. What I'm saying to you is this is really important. The foreign manager, the really brilliant foreign manager, has enhanced the game. The really brilliant foreign footballer has enhanced the game. But we have a lot of people who are foreigners in the game. Foreigners, God Almighty, I'm Irish.
The challenge for Martin's argument is, and I don't disagree with some aspects of it, and it's an argument that's been well rehearsed by British managers that idiot for owners take foreign players, but the whole bloody thing is foreign now, right? So the ownership is foreign. The sporting director is foreign, the manager is foreign, the assistant manager is foreign, the academy directors are foreign, the players are foreign. There must be a clue in it, there must be something in it that British players, British managers aren't at the level they should be at. We've opened up a global audience, so no longer do we just fish in our pond. When Alex Ferguson became manager of Manchester United in 1986, it was a very different world. When the Premier League came about, Man United got themselves together and won the first 4 out of the first 5, Ferguson was seeded and set. Right? But it started to change and he started to get challenged, and Arsene Wenger came along and he didn't have his own dominance. And then, of course, in 2003 you saw Chelsea come in with Jose Mourinho, so he didn't dominate the landscape as he once did before because there was more competition, and the globalised order opened it up, and the British manager has come up short because there is an attitude that's diminishing in British managers where it was lazy and institutionalised and disrespectful.
One could be cynical and say that the British manager come up short because he doesn't exist anymore. That would be.
But the tragedy is that you can't. If the common denominator is it, and I understand that people say, "Well, you employ what you look like." Well, Marinakis employed all kinds of different people. It's not what you look like; it's what you think can do the best job. You don't necessarily think just because you come from one particular place that you're going to employ managers there. But if the common denominator, the only thing about English football which is English anymore, is its geography. The rest of it is not. It's not the English Premier League. It's the global league of football being managed by everybody else and played by everybody else and administrated by everybody else that isn't English. And why is that? Because they must be better elsewhere. That's why. And why is that? Because it's not what I want. It's not what I want culturally. I want our managers and our people from these isles to be the best. But why aren't they?
Well,
have a look inside and work it out.
Before the game...
A couple of sentences, Martin, then
just a couple of sentences. Right, OK. Football only came in when Sky TV arrived. But before that, believe it or not, Liverpool had a phenomenal side run by British manager, dominating European football for years and years and years.
And so did the Germans, and so did the Dutch in the 70s. So what are you on about?
Dominating football for years and years and years.
So did the Germans and Dutch. They won as many European Cups.
On that, we must leave you. Martin, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
And that was a magnificent rant, topped only by his.
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow at 10. We're at 1 o'clock this Monday lunchtime.